We do not consider this slight curve to be a mechanical error that requires reholdering. We appreciate all the feedback from our community, and we are grateful to be the hobby's first choice for grading for nearly 25 years.
Oh my! All right, so let me just summarize here. Yes, they bend the comics, but no, they don't damage the comics, despite what your own eyes are telling you. We're not liable for any of that stuff. Thanks for choosing us. We're number one. Yay, CGC. Is that basically, did I get that right?
Yeah, that's pretty much what they said, yeah.
Yeah, let me tell you.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to issue 11 of the Comic Room Pod.
Yeah.
We got a new chair in the room.
Yeah, how's the weather up there?
At least from what we can tell from the preview screen, I look significantly... I'm towering over Bob. But
I'm in the timeout chair.
I wanted some new chairs, and so I went and I really like this chair. I really like this color, and I was like, "Oh, do you have two?" And they were like, "No, we only have one." And then the other lady was like, "Oh, we sold the other one last week. Should have come a week ago." I was like, "I wasn't looking for one a week ago. I'm looking for one today." So. Yeah, but I probably won't get I probably won't get a matching.
The funny thing is I have the same model of chair, but it's a different color.
Yeah.
But I'm not schlepping it over here, man. It's heavy. Right? That chair's not light.
Yeah.
It's awkward.
So,
but it's very nice. I like your chair, man.
Yeah, thank you. Hopefully next week or maybe the week after, I'll have to go run around and see what's out there.
I have faith.
But anyways, he started school, he went back, and then I went to Seattle for PAX West for some work, and then so we had to record earlier. We ended up switching the episodes, so the last episode we recorded was actually the Bend Gate,
right.
Which that is our most successful episode so far. So
I guess people are interested to know when they're getting ripped off by a grading company.
Yeah, no kidding.
I mean, I'm kind of salty right now about that.
Yeah.
I don't know if we want to get into it right now or not, but
we'll talk about it in a few minutes.
But
sure.
Yeah, we'll get there.
So that was the last episode we recorded, and then the episode that came out last Monday, we recorded like 2.5 weeks ago. Yeah. So it all just feels like so weird.
Yeah.
So, but yeah. So this week's full episode is actually going to be released, extended and everything. We just kind of wanted to show you guys what kind of a full episode looks like. And if you're interested in seeing any past extended episodes that we've done or any future episodes we'll do, I actually created a brand new membership way to join on the channel. So normally it's $4.99 to join the channel. I actually made a cheaper version specifically for the podcast. So it's $2.99 and you get access to all extended episodes, all previous extended episodes. So yeah, if you're just if you're really enjoying this podcast and you want more from it, you can join that way. You also get whenever I upload, you'll get access to it immediately.
Yeah.
And so yeah, if that's something you're interested in, check out the join button down below. You hit the Comic Room. I think I called it the Comic Room Pod Enjoyers tier. So if you're a Comic Room Pod enjoyer,
I like it.
That's for you. So. We also have a Discord server. It's actually been really fun so far. We've been having a ton of conversation.
I know, right?
A lot of people just sharing books that they got. Had a conversation about blue light, like whitening.
I've heard about that.
And cleaning. Somebody was trying that out. Also, some newbie collectors just like asking questions, and so it's cool seeing other people in the community just like come around and help them out. So
I love it.
Yeah, it's been a good time. So if you want to join a community of comic collectors and talk while the cameras are off, link for that is in the description. The time that you're seeing this, the San Diego Comic-Con vlog is out. So if you've been waiting, I finally got through all 90 gigs of the footage. Ooh. I cut off 30 gigs of footage.
Did I make the cut, or am I on the editing room floor?
We never actually recorded anything together, like on the camera.
No, I don't think we did.
But there's a few times where you walk up to the.
All right, I'm in there. I make an appearance. It's not a full appearance. It's a cameo.
Yeah, it's a cameo.
Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, if that's something you want to check out, I'll link that in the description as well. Overall, great con. Had a lot of fun. You can check out what I got in that video. Check us out on Instagram at Spros_comics, at Mr. Longbox. And yeah, let's get into show and tell.
Okay.
Kick us off.
All right. My show and tell this week is something I'm really proud to add to my collection. It is Batman issue 35.
Nice.
There it is.
Gorgeous.
And you can even see the back because I put it in one of those clear backing boards. So because I think the backs are just, I mean, it's just interesting to see what the advertisements were in 1945 or whatever. So this book is not. I don't think I'll ever slab it. I mean, I'm not going to slab it because the best it's going to get is like a 1.5, 1.8 on a really good day, maybe.
Yeah.
It's pretty beat up, but it's complete. The cover is partially detached. You got rusted staples and chunks, not chunks, but little pieces out here and there. But it's Batman 35.
Sold at bowling alley.
See, no, that's cool. Sold at bowling. So I wonder what that means. I wonder if that means that the five and dime store that maybe had extras gave him sold them in mass to a bowling alley, but he had to stamp them that way because they did all kinds of weird stuff back then. That's right. I don't know if anybody knows. Let me know. But anyway, the reason I bought it, and I didn't pay. It wasn't cheap, but it wasn't expensive. I mean, it's a 1945, I think 45 or 46 Batman. So there you go. But what's cool about it to me specifically, especially, is it's the first time that Catwoman appears in her actual costume.
Yeah.
Up until that point, when you see her, and her first appearance is Catwoman 1, so it's not like she's new. It's her third year in existence. She's in a mask, or something along those lines. But this is the first time she appears in that black and purple kind of flowing dress type costume with the claws and that
green.
Yeah, exactly. We've all seen it. This is the first time she appears in that, and that's another reason why I won't slab it, because the thing that I like most about the book is on the inside of the book. So I've taken pictures of every page of that story because I'll want to look at it from time to time, and one of the staples is barely hanging on, so I don't want to keep opening it. But maybe I'll send you a picture. You can put it up of like what that first panel of Catwoman in that. Oh,
I put it up in the last episode.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
So you know what of the one where I was talking about my new purchases, right?
Yeah.
It's pretty cool when you go. You go to Key Collector and you say you can look up a character rather than a series, and then it will give you all their significant appearances or whatever. Now, Catwoman's been around since 1940, so there's a lot.
Yeah.
This is the fourth book that appears on the key issues that appears. I mean, that's a big deal.
Yeah.
Obviously,
no joke.
Yeah, right. The first one is Batman 1, the second one is Batman 2, and the third one I think is Batman 3, and then this is the fourth one.
Wow.
Batman 35. So that's pretty. I'm under no illusion I'm going to get Batman 1, 2, or 3. I'm not going to get those. But and then after that, you get into Detective Comics 122, which is her first appearance, and then Batman first cover appearance.
Oh, first cover,
and where she's just slapping or scratching
Robin.
Robin, who's always on the receiving end of getting slapped or it's pretty great. And then Batman 42, where it's her first cover appearance in the Batman title. But anyway, that's probably the earliest Batman I'll ever own. And definitely a cool Catwoman key to have.
Yeah,
that's within the affordable range in this grade. It's if it were in minty condition, forget about it. I can't afford that.
Yeah,
but I'm stoked, man. I'm really proud of it.
Yeah, it's a sweet book. Nice.
Thanks.
All right, my show and tell this week is twofold. It is the first book that I ever got signed. It says Daredevil, issue number 9, first appearance of Echo, signed by David Mack, down here in silver. Just looks super cool. Also CBCS case. So my book is nice and secure. So that's the second part of my show and tell.
Feeling good about that, I bet.
I remember this. So this book is just kind of like It's pretty meaningful to me, like in quite a few ways. So this is the first convention we ever went to, or at least I ever went to, was LA Comic Con 2022. And I had already known about David Mack. I didn't know he was going to be there because I just didn't know how the cons like really worked. And I saw his booth. Oh, no, I didn't know he was going to be there because I brought a grip of his run in the second volume of the 50s, in the 50s.
Oh, right, yeah.
And so I brought those books. So I guess this isn't the first book I ever got signed. It's the first book I got signed and slabbed. But when it's like 51 to like 54, I think, he does the origin of Echo. Those covers are gorgeous.
Yeah.
So I brought those and I got to talking with him, and he's just like, David Mack is just like such a cool guy.
He is, yeah.
But what was like meaningful about that was every single con I've gone to, and he's been there, and I've gone up to his booth, he's remembered me. And he's like recognized me, and yeah, we've just been like, he's like, oh, how things been? And like,
really?
we just like have
That's
like
so
a really
cool.
cool conversation. So it's just cool. And he followed me back on Twitter. Like, I don't know. It's just
nice.
Like, yeah. So it's just like really cool that like he remembered me. I think I had like tweeted, I think I tweeted a picture of this book when it was raw after I got it graded, or sorry, when it was raw after I got it signed. And then I just tweeted a picture, and I was just like, super cool meeting the iconic David Mack, blah, blah, blah. Then he followed me back, and yeah, it's been really cool. And so, yeah, I think he's probably the best Daredevil artist. As far as cover art goes, interior art, he's also incredible. Alex Maleev is also up there, and Mark Cicchetto are also up there. That's just incredible interiors. But I have to say, like, he makes just the best covers for Daredevil. Black Widow on this cover looks amazing.
He's so recognizable.
Yeah,
his
he
work.
is.
Like you can just, your eyes can just glance across a wall at the comic shop.
Yeah.
And you will spot if there's a David Mack cover, you'll know it.
He's really good at being recognizable, but not like a rinse and repeat.
No,
like there are other artists like that, which, you know, I've gotten burnt out from like some of their art. But his is like, he definitely has a style, but it's so different. Sometimes he'll keep the same style when he's doing like a title, like the Anansi Boys, like those all like look pretty similar. But yeah, aside from like, I mean, you look at all these covers for the Daredevil Volume 2, they're all just so unique.
It's gorgeous. It's
so
just
good.
it's so beautiful. I love when he does the pastel watercolor stuff.
Yeah. So I got those 50s books signed, and then I was like, I just had such a good time talking with him. I was like, man, I need to get First Echo. So I like ran around the entire con floor looking for First Appearance of Echo, and then I ended up talking to a guy who was like helping out at one of the shops that like we know. And he was like, oh yeah, I have one at home. He's like, I mean, I'm not like super interested in selling it, but maybe. So I was like, just let me know like what you want. Like, so he's like, yeah, I'll do like 150. So
wow.
I was like, I don't care. Like, I'm gonna get it signed. Like, I'm not looking to. This isn't like a buy and flip type thing. Yep. Like, I'm looking to go get this signed and then to go get it graded.
Especially since you had that conversation, you want a memento of that occasion. Something like you got to take that opportunity.
Yeah. So he brought the book the next day at the con. So I picked it up from him and then went and brought it to David Mack. He signed it, and then I brought it straight to CBCS. And then got it back a couple months later. So
it was Providence that you went to. That back then CBCS was the only game in town to get a slab signature verified, because you would rather have it be in a CBCS slab.
Yeah.
At this point.
Yeah. So actually, just like an hour before we started recording, CGC made their response. So I can't find where they made the response, but somebody posted.
Right, and you've been withholding this information from me because you want to reveal it to me live on camera.
Yeah.
Oh no.
So let me see if they can point to like where.
I'm assuming if it's something that you want to do live, that it's not good news.
Also, if you look up CGC like Bengate, our podcast is one of the first ones that pop up.
Really?
Yeah.
Nice. Yeah, that was we certainly didn't discover it. That was there were other content creators, but the timing of it just worked out.
Yeah. Okay, so I can't find where they actually posted this. This is from another content creator. I trust them, but I don't know. I looked on the website. I can't find it, but anyways, I'm gonna read it to you. CGC statement on Bengate. We have seen reports that some of the soft plastic wells used inside of the CGC holder exhibit a curve when viewed from the side. After learning of this, we conducted an extensive review and found that the smallest well size, which is used for the thinnest comic books, is more pliable than other wells, and in some cases will exhibit a slight curve. Sometimes it's slight, sometimes it's not, from what I've seen. Importantly, this curve does not cause any damage to the comic book, and it does not affect the grade in any way. The angle of bend required to create a stress line simply cannot be done within the CGC holder. In addition, very high-grade comic books can still exhibit minimal stress lines according to CGC's official grading standards. We do not consider this slight curve to be a mechanical error that requires reholdering. Still, we are always listening and want to serve our customers the best way we can. We have found that our next largest well size does not exhibit the slight curve and have started to use that well in lieu of our smallest size. We appreciate all the feedback from our community, and we are grateful to be the hobby's first choice for grading for nearly 25 years. Many of us are collectors too, and we care deeply about the services that we provide. So,
okay. Oh my! All right, so let me just summarize here. Yes, they bend the comics, but no, they don't damage the comics, despite what your own eyes are telling you.
Yeah.
And we're not liable for any of that stuff.
Yeah.
Thanks for choosing us. We're number one. Yay, CGC. Is that basically, did I get that right?
Yeah, that's pretty much what they said. Yeah.
Yeah. Let me tell you, I said at the beginning, I'm salty about CGC because since we've made that podcast, I went back, like I said I would, and I looked at the moderns that I sent in to CGC. And not all of them, at least not yet, are bending. But 20 to 30% of them do exhibit the bend. And of that 20 to 30% that exhibit the bend, there are a handful where I can see stress marks right in that middle spot, just maybe about an inch below where you, maybe about a third of the way down the comic, like on the spine, where it looks, it's buckled, dude. It's buckled. It's not a stress line.
Yeah.
It's buckled.
Yeah.
And maybe it's better to be buckled than a stress line because I don't see color break yet. But you can't. I would never ever let my comics be stored in a short or long box, buckled like that, because it's. Come on, man. I have a 9.6 Daredevil 170 newsstand. That thing was flawless when I sent it to CGC. It came back 9.6. I thought it would get a 9.8. Came back a 9.6. I still am like, I don't know why I didn't get a 9.8, but I was happy with a 9.6. I mean, I bought it for, when it first came out. And I put it away. And I look at it, and that's one of the ones that has the buckling. Don't tell me a buckled book would be a 9.6. It would not be a 9.6.
Yeah.
When I pull up the CGC grader notes, no notes, because there's nothing to say about the book.
Yeah.
So sorry, I'm not buying it.
Yeah.
And not only I'm not buying the story, but I'm not buying the service anymore.
Yeah.
Like we talked about this even before you read me the response. I was so hacked off at the fact that with my own eyes I can see this book is not in the condition it was in when I sent it to CGC, that I would have to be a fool to send them another modern book.
Yeah.
So that's totally off the table. I don't know about the rest of the books. I kind of tell you the truth. I think if there still is a residual bias against CBCS that's reflected in the price, that's disappearing fast.
Yeah, or at least it should. But there's always going to be people who, like, they're going to be CGC. I mean, we had people in our comments. I don't know if you read the comments. People were like, they were calling us names and like, yeah, it's just like because they're so hardcore ride or die for CGC, and they were calling us like corporate shills for like going
Corporate
against
shills?
for going out against.
What do you think? We're so big. We're such a big content creating that we're sponsored by CBCS
Yeah.
or I mean, come on. We're just a couple of guys that collect comic books, like everybody watching this podcast or listening to it, with a concern.
Yeah,
That's all. And to tell you the truth, now you know what, I'm not going to say what I'm about to say. What I was going to say, I'm not going to say it. I just, it's reprehensible for a company that purports to be a part of protecting the hobby and protecting the books to be responsible for damaging them and not own up to it.
yeah,
You know, I mean, I don't really know what CGC really could do, you know, beyond what they have done, which is we're not going to use those things anymore. They probably just legally can't expose themselves to the financial liability of admitting they've damaged the books. Like, I'm sure the lawyers advised them not to do that, because that's what that sounded like to me. That sounded like that got edited by a few different lawyers before, which I'm sure it did. It has to have,
yeah,
right?
sure.
But there's no way I would send books to CGC at this point.
Yeah,
Like, I have books at CGC right now.
yeah, me too.
And mine are past the 28 days too. So we were just, so we got CGC's missing their dates.
Yeah,
They're not standing behind their products. So they're saying we're not damaging the books. Oh, and by the way, they are damaging the books. So add that to the rest of the scandals. And how are you guys feeling about CGC at this point?
Yeah, it's 28 business days. So including all the holidays that have happened since then, I'm at like 31 or 32 days since.
And just a week ago, they finally moved it off of the scheduled for grading. Right?
Yeah, let me see. Let's see if because I thought surely it was going to be shipped. No, still grading, encapsulation, imaging.
And after that comes quality control. So you're not even there yet.
Sometimes I've checked, like with my last modern submission, it was at grading, blah, blah, blah. And then I was like, okay, whatever. And then like I looked like 2-3 hours later and it was like shipped. I was like, oh, they did all that fast. Okay. So I'm kind of hoping the same thing happens
An
here.
alarm went off somewhere,
Yeah.
but this problem goes deeper than even me as someone who's considering where I'm going to go to get a book graded, if I get a book graded. I bought a book recently, a modern book, CGC Slab 9.0. And I got it just a couple days ago. And I looked at it, and wouldn't you know, it's got a buckle in that same spot. So I went on the thing there. I thought, well, let me just check and see, did CGC note this when they graded it, And I'm not really sure. They might have, they might not have. It could be a terminology issue. They said that it had stress lines on the spine. There's no lines on it. It's not a stress line. There's a buckle. So I don't want to. I'm not going to say here officially it absolutely happened post grading. They might have been referring to that, so I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Or not. But I'm not going also to be buying modern books that are CGC graded unless I can some way verify and guarantee that they were graded prior to last year.
Yeah.
Because can't blame the seller. Sellers sell me what they say they're selling me. But
Right.
CGC,
Yeah, I think that, like I made a video a couple days after that, the podcast, and I picked up this book and other CBCS books that I have, and I shook it around. You don't hear anything.
No.
Quiet. The book is in there. Safe. Tightly secured. There's no bends. Nothing. Also, like, me personally, this is just like me adding on to this point. Like, I've always loved these cases more than CGC. I just haven't graded because of the market value. So, but it doesn't shake around in there.
Yeah.
Take this for example.
Better go the other way. There you go. Yeah, I can hear it.
This one's not as bad, but like as bad as like I've heard them before.
Well, you've seen my Silver Surfer 4. That thing moves so much that it actually you see it tilting in in there.
Yeah. This one moves. I don't know if the mic's not picking it up, but this is actually like a decently. Oh, this is an older one too because it doesn't have the QR code. But the newer ones, you can hear them like banging up against the walls, and they've said in the past that that's fine and it's not going to do anything. So
okay, so they say. I mean, I have this book here, and this I'll have to show it to you. It's in a CGC slab, and it goes like it ticks.
The same book?
Yeah. That book. Yeah. Look, the people who want to deny the problems that CGC has had, or the people who and I'm not going to turn this into a you made comments and I'm going to respond because I'm not getting into that. I haven't even read those comments, but I will say this: someone who's going to come out like strongly defending CGC to the point of calling us CBCS shills, I will say only this: how many CGC slabs do you have in your collection? Because that's why you're fighting this, because if CGC's reputation goes down, you lose money in your collection. Dude, I'm right there with you. I have a ton of CGC slabs
I've paid
in my
CGC
collection,
thousands of
and
dollars.
so do you. I don't want CGC to fail because that's damaging to the value that I have already invested in my collection.
Yeah.
You know, if CGC being successful is successful for me, but I'm also not a fool. I'm not gonna continue to throw money in something and hope they don't have another problem. Like, this is serious one.
Yeah.
This one to me hurts me more than what the one where they were doing the swapping out, because I didn't buy any of those books, right? But I legitimately and literally sent books in that came back messed up.
Yeah.
And not just because of Bengate. I mentioned the Marvel 2-in-1 Annual 2 that has that tear in the back that wasn't there. Probably because it's a thick square bound book and they're jamming into this well and they just were careless. But what are you going to do about it?
Yeah.
You know, at that point, I forgave that because there are human hands on it and that's part of the risk you run and all that stuff. But now these are systemic things.
It's a quality control issue. I just think that if you're like, you're taking like half responsibility, you're like, yeah, like we see what you guys are talking about, but it's not as bad as you guys think. Like, that's essentially what they said, right?
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, we're fixing it, but there's really nothing to fix.
Yeah, exactly. And it's just like, how can I have confidence in you as a company? In it's not even in you as this isn't like you're not even like buying a product from these people. You're sending a collectible to them, and you're like, help me preserve this and grade and like identify the condition that it's in.
Yeah, be an ally to the community. That's what we have always seen CGC as and CBCS, and why we don't feel that way about PGX or whatever, because we know we can't trust them, right?
Yeah. So I think it's just, I think you have to just do better by the community. Like, I think you have to just, if the community's crying out about this, which more people than us have, there's been a lot of videos made about this.
Yep.
Your response, it just can't be, yeah, we see what you guys are saying, but you're kind of blowing it out of proportion. Because that's kind of like what it feels like.
And they have to say that, because if they don't, then people are going to start demanding financial remedy, and there's no way they can come out and say that.
And they already lost that.
Yeah.
That other lawsuit. Like $10 million or something like that. So
the only thing they've got, going for them in this is that it seems to, and I think the community would agree with this. It doesn't seem like the Bengate thing has really affected anything but moderns, like they're saying. It's just our smallest well. So props that they're going to fix it. I'm glad that they're changing it,
but they're not making it right.
But you can't change it but at the same time say, but we don't really need to change it, but we'll change it. Like it doesn't.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, you're kind of like, yeah, that's a good point. Hey, like this isn't damaging anything. It's fine. So don't worry about it. But we're gonna change it. Like we're gonna change the way that we put this product in this.
Yeah, we're the comic book collectors, right? We understand that a book that's stored with a bend is going to damage the book. You guys, we've all gotten backing boards, right? And the cardboard backing boards, and sometimes they get wrapped a little too tight in the plastic that they come in, and then when you pull them out, they kind of have a bend to them. Do you guys just go ahead and just stick your comics in with those backing boards with the bends, and then you see your comic books kind of bowing a little bit? Are you cool with that? There's no way you're cool with that. I know you do the same thing I do. You work on it a little, you bend it, you flatten them out before you allow them to have any contact with your book, because you don't want the bend. Like we take really good care of these books because, of course, the value is tied to them, but also because that's part of the hobby. And we talked about this before. We steward the books. It means something to have a book 20 years old, which should still be considered modern, and looking like it was brand new. That's a source of pride for a lot of collectors. Yeah. And so for CGC or any company to sit and tell me, yeah, we're bending your books, but don't overreact. It's not a big deal. Yes, it is.
And then to pat themselves on the back. Yeah. And we've been the community number one choice for 25 years.
The only thing they did right about that was they put it in the past tense. They didn't say we are.
Yeah. So
they put it in the, what is it? Past progressive we've been. I think that's right.
I don't know.
I have to get my 7th grade language arts teacher on the phone for that one.
So yeah, I don't know. I'm probably not going to be sending anything to CGC anytime soon. I'm not going to say never,
no,
but I mean, for the foreseeable future, I have no reason to send anything to CGC. If that turns into I never send anything to CGC, I'm fine with that. But I'll say definitively for the foreseable future, my next modern batch is going to CBCS.
Yeah. Oh heck yeah. And the now I shouldn't even say this because this like discredits me in some collectors' eyes, and I'm only being facetious when I say it. But when I'm on claim sales and the Spider-Man books come up, I sort of don't pay attention because it's just not what I collect. You know? But now when I'm on a claim sale and a modern CGC slab book comes up, I'm also not going to pay attention because I'm not collecting those either. Like I'm not going to buy those unless it's a verified signature a witnessed signature where the date is pre 2023. I won't buy it because I don't want to buy it and have it come, bending in the thing. So,
or if it's like an older label, you could tell with the older labels and stuff.
So it's been done right before. So just do it. I don't know.
I think that's so funny actually that point you made, that they were like, yeah, there's nothing wrong with the bends aren't going to hurt your book, but we're gonna change it. Like, what is that?
Yeah, come on.
Why?
Yeah,
that's weird.
Yeah.
Also, I don't care if the bends aren't gonna mess up my book. If I feel no matter what you tell me, if I look at the bend and I feel like it's damaging my book, that doesn't make me comfortable. They didn't provide any science as to
nope.
All they said was, which it was also kind of like a little passive aggressive the way that they worded it. Let me pull it back up. Yeah. Keyword in this sentence is the word simply. Importantly, this curve does not cause any damage to the comic book and it does not affect the grade in any way. The angle of bend required to create a stress line simply cannot be done within the CGC holder. That's like a little passive aggressive.
Yeah. Simply cannot be done. Can't be done. It can't. I don't know. It doesn't. I mean, people who are at Comic Cons and have short boxes where people can go through them. Are you comfortable with with people handling your comics roughly and you don't pack your short boxes too tightly, because if you do, they have to kind of.
I hate when vendors pack their short boxes
because then
tightly.
you feel like you have to manhandle the books to see what's in there. Everybody understands that what's the most vulnerable part of a comic book? The spine. Everybody knows that. Everybody knows it. If the spine gets bent, you likely have an irreparable grade hit.
Yeah.
Whether or not the color breaks because you have a buckle on the spine.
Yeah.
You know, if you drop a book and it hits on the corner and the spine buckles, that's it. Like that's not it for like
It's over.
It's not 9/8 anymore or whatever. So, I mean, it's disappointing.
How about this, CGC? I don't want my books bent. Like,
Yeah.
I don't care if you say or you say it's not doing damage. I don't want them bent. I don't want them bent in my boxes when they're raw. I definitely don't want them bent when they're sitting in a plastic case being protected. I don't want my books bent at all. Even if it's not doing any type of damage,
Right.
I don't want them bent.
There it is. Preach. I mean, it's a customer satisfaction issue. So, what's the number one rule of customer satisfaction? You know, and I know this people can chafe at this, but the customer's always right.
Yeah.
Now, we all know the customer's not always right.
Right.
But customer satisfaction, though, is the most important thing if you're gonna sell a product. And that's what they mean when they say the customer's always right. Even when they're wrong, you go out of your way to make sure that they're satisfied. So in a sense, that's maybe why they're saying, all right, well, we're gonna address this so that you are more satisfied with our product. So good, I'm glad. But don't gaslight me at the same time and tell me there's simply no way that this bend could cause any problems, because how do you know?
Yeah.
How do you know? You wouldn't think stacking comic books one on top of another just on a pile would do any damage to a comic book. And it doesn't for the first 5 years. But you come back after 15 years and every one of them has a spine roll.
Yeah.
Because it's gravity over time, right? So that kind of slight bend over time, you don't think it's going to damage the spine is stiff. It's supposed to be stiff. And if you're bending it, anyway, I know what I have seen with my own eyes. I don't even get into the science of it. I've looked at it. I've looked at a comic and said, look at that. There's a buckle right there. And it wasn't there before.
Yeah. I think it's the tone of their message that's really kind of the mistake, because they could have said exactly what they said in a different tone, and it would have made it would have done a lot better.
Yeah. Look, I don't want to be mad. Like I've said it on this podcast. I love it when my books come back and they're slabbed and they're safe and sound. It's a good. I know not everybody likes to slab their books, and you're looking smarter by the minute, but I like slabbing my books.
Yeah.
For that sense of, like you said last time, they're safe now, you know, and I want these grading companies to still be that for me as a collector. You know, I don't want to be sitting here like griping and mad. I don't want to be talking about all the things that make me mad in the industry. No, this we're in here for the fun of it,
right? You
know, and so these things happen and they have to be talked about. I'm still refreshing every day to see how's it going with my vintage, collection of books that are sitting at CGC, and I'll be stoked to get them when they come back and all that, and it's part of the fun of it. But come on.
I think I asked the original poster of that to let me know where they posted that, because it's still. I mean, he could have wrote that and we could be rambling about nothing, but he's not. I don't think he's that kind of guy.
Yeah.
And he's made a lot of videos about this too. So I asked him for like the source so I can see, and then if that's why I keep checking my phone to see if he responds. So if he does, I'll post the link or whatever.
Yeah.
But I think this is the last thing I'll say. I think with the situation like this, I think what you say. Let me pull it up again. I think this is how you word it. So we've seen reports of the wells bending. They exhibit a curve when viewing from the side. And then they say immediately after that, after learning of this, we conducted an extensive review and found that the smallest well size, which is used for the thinnest comic book, is more pliable than other wells, and in some cases will exhibit a slight curve. Okay, so they've identified that this curve is happening. Mm-hmm. The very next thing that they should say is, as collectors, we don't like this either. Instead, this is when they go into the defense mode. So is more pliable on other wells, and in some cases will exhibit a slight curve. Importantly, the curve does not cause any damage to the comic book, and it does not affect the grade in any way. The angle of bend required to create a stress line simply cannot be done within the CGC holder. In addition, very high grade comic books can still exhibit minimal stress lines according to the CGC's official grading standards. That paragraph is horrible. Like that paragraph is...
That's the lawyer. That's the lawyers. Yeah.
What they should have done is, and in some cases will exhibit a slight curve. We're collectors too. We don't want to see our books bent. We strive to make a product that makes our customers comfortable. That being said, this curve is not causing damage to the book. The amount that the well can bend inside of the case is just not enough room to like cause stress lines. But in light of this, and because we don't want to see our books bent, we are going to be switching the wells that we used for the lines. Like that is just so much more like it's assuming responsibility. It's putting the collector first. And I still am identifying all of the problems that they addressed.
Right.
I still hit on every single point that they did. You're just not... I'm just not being passive aggressive about it.
Yeah.
Like I'm just not being like, hey, you guys are acting a little crazy about this. Like,
yeah,
they're kind of treating us like when
exactly.
you tell your girlfriend like, well, you're being crazy, and she's like, I'm not being great. Like, that's how they're treating us.
Yeah, it does feel that way. And maybe you should go and do some public relations for CGC, because I think your response is a lot more comforting and a lot less aggressive. In its passive aggressive way. And all we're really asking is that when we send you a book, that it comes back in the same, looking the same. Like, if it were a baseball card, you sent it to PSA and it came back and you decided to take the baseball card out of the crack it out for whatever reason, you set it on a table and it's folding up. That's disastrous, right?
Yeah.
And I don't know if that would happen with one of these, but I think we need to find out what comes out of this. I don't think the story's done. I think as more and more people become aware of this, collectors, we'll get some more testimonials about, potential long-term damage to comics if it's actually happened, and so like we said last time, if you've gotten your modern books slabbed, or you bought a modern book and you don't think you think it's in a worse grade than the grade suggests, and it's bending. The best thing, the way you can really tell, I think, is by looking up the cert number and seeing if the stress line or the buckle or whatever that you see in the slab is identified in the grader notes. And if it is, then they're off the hook for that book.
Yeah.
If it isn't, and there's a preponderance of evidence in that direction, and I don't know if there is yet, then I think we have a problem.
Yeah.
We'll see, right? I guess.
Yeah.
Wow.
Interesting.
Yeah. Let us know what you guys think. I'm not happy about this. I'm not. It's not good when these things happen. We aren't clickbaiters or anything like that. We're not like, a scandal we can talk about. No.
Yeah, we're not drama content creators.
I would like nothing more than to just sit here and be able to talk about the collecting and the fun stuff.
Yeah.
But we're not going to ignore when something's going on in the hobby that collectors need to know about, because this is what who we are.
Yeah.
If we're talking about it, probably you're talking about it. So
yeah. What a time for PSA to be entering the scene.
Come on in.
Those books were way too heavy though. I won't.
There's no way that prototype could work.
No, there's no chance. I don't think I might have left it in the vlog. I don't remember. But when we were looking at the PSA slabs at Comic-Con, and you and I both were like, oh my gosh, these are heavy. And the guy was like, haha, yeah. It's like, it's the part of the heaviness is also like the sturdiness and protection that you're getting. And I'm like, that's not worth it.
Yeah, it was.
I didn't say that, but I know that's what I was thinking was that's not worth it.
Yeah, I would love. I mean, they were prototypes, so no one got to take them home or anything. But it would have been fun to put them side by side with CBCS and CGC, and just to note the difference in weight. CBCS is the lightest. CGC is heavier than CBCS, but still normal.
It's minimal.
What's the percentage of extra weight do you think that the PSA had?
Oh my gosh, 2.5 times.
It was seriously like twice as heavy, right? It was unbelievable.
Well, they were also the size of magazine.
Yeah,
slabs. They were huge.
They wouldn't
so
fit in. They wouldn't fit in your CGC long boxes.
any
short
CGC
boxes.
box that you have, it's not fitting. It has to go into a CGC magazine box.
Yeah, or PSA has to come up with its own, or somebody,
Yeah.
and they would if it got popular enough. But I mean, come on, they were heavy. They did feel pretty solid and sturdy.
Yeah, for sure.
In your hand, it was nice, but
I'm not dropping these books off like a building. Like at worst, it's dropping from chest height.
I remember being at it was the first time I went to San Diego Comic-Con in 2004, and the only other time I went actually, and Metropolis Comics was there, and they're one of the heaviest hitters in the business, and every time you see them at any convention, they're going to have the craziest wall of books that you're going to find, and I went, and the guy who owned it was there, and I was there on a press pass, so I was able to get some time with him and talk with him, and he busted out an Action Comics 1 and a Detective Comics 27, and he handed them to me. They were in bricks. They were like in, you can put your baseball cards in bricks.
Yeah.
Like they're massive. It was like that, only comic book size.
Wow.
It was like holding a briefcase with a clear briefcase with the comic book floating in the middle of it. The PSA slabs reminded me of that. It was that same feel, and I thought, well, that's probably not. It's probably overkill for my Amazing Spider-Man. My Miles Morales one is probably overkill.
Yeah.
for that book, right?
I just had this thought. Do you think, like, what happens if? So they're super new, super fresh. Obviously not in the grading scene, but for comics, yes. Are they gonna be more soft? Like, if somebody sends in a Detective 27 or an Action 1, would they be more soft on the grade simply so they could be like, look, we have one of the higher graded?
I don't know. It could go the other way too, though. It could be
Action
harder.
Comics. Yeah, but why would they? With a grail like that, I feel like as a company, you would just be like, yo, bump this up a half grade.
Yeah, if you had to err one side or the other, you would probably want to grade it higher.
Yeah, because you're like, look, we have one of the highest graded Action ones in existence.
Yeah, that's true. So those of you, for you out there who own Action 1, maybe.
Yeah, how many more of those still are out there to be graded, though?
Can you imagine Action 1 raw in your collection? Do you think, I mean, surely there must be some still out there that are raw. I mean, there has to be.
Yeah, there's some in the walls in Kansas.
Oh, gosh. That actually happened.
But, all right, so let's move on. That's pretty much our podcast. That was 50 minutes worth of conversation. So,
yeah.
All right, we'll move on to news. And honestly, that might be the episode. And we'll move what was going to be the main convo to the extended.
Yeah, okay.
So, but it's all going to be there for you guys. So you can watch it no matter what. So a lot of Batman news this week. So let's start with Joker Folie à Deux, which is the sequel to Joker. Let's talk about Joker 1 a little bit first, just so that to like set the conversation. I really liked it. I only saw it once. I saw it in the theaters. I loved it. I'm scared to watch it again.
I haven't even watched it.
You haven't seen Joker 1?
Because I didn't. For the same reason you're scared to watch it twice, I was scared to watch it once. Like I saw the previews, I read the reviews, and I'm like, I just don't think I want to watch 2 hours of that depressing stuff.
Oh man, you gotta watch it. I'd watch it with you.
All right, maybe that's how it will be. You'll if you're brave enough to watch it a second time, then I'll watch it first time.
I just would like, because I know Dara doesn't want to watch it again. And it's like, I don't want to watch it by myself.
Okay.
There's just a couple scenes in there that are like hard to watch.
Okay.
But like other than that, it's just like, it just plays like a thriller.
I know Joaquin Phoenix is an amazing actor.
Yeah.
So
Joker 1 is incredible. I think Joker 1 deserves all of the praise that it gets. Like, and the praise that it doesn't get, it should get. Like, I thought it did so well with, part of Joker's thing is like, where does he come from? Who is he?
Right.
Like, we don't know. And the most that will, like, kind of the hobby will take, or the people collecting and reading will take, is Killing Joke. Like, and that's pretty, like, we'll take that, and it's like, even that's not considered canon. I think it's referred to in canon. Like I'm reading the Zdarsky Batman series.
Yeah.
It's like been nodded to a couple times when Joker's been in the arc. But like Joker is supposed to be like this mysterious character. So I think that was like the big risk with this movie, is
giving him an origin.
Yeah. Like we don't want an origin from him, but it was actually like really, it was done really well. He's still mysterious by the end of it, because the movie ends with like this. Yeah, I don't want to spoil it because you haven't seen it, but the movie ends kind of like you're still asking that question. Like, yeah. So, anyways, honestly, great movie.
Well, the mythos around Joker is so thick. Like, there's so much complexity around the character of the Joker that an origin story is going to be a compelling story, and it can go a lot of different ways. But it's going to have to be, it's got to be dark, right? Because I mean, unless you're doing the the goofy Joker, but who wants that, right?
Yeah. So the movie comes out. It does incredibly well. I think it does $1 billion. Maybe I'm wrong. Let me check. Joker box office. Yeah, it did $1 billion. So,
man, we're a demented world, man.
Incredibly successful movie. Movie comes out. Really good conversations about just how the movie ended, and a lot of us are just kind of like, we don't need a sequel. That was a great. The way that the movie ended, how good the movie is, don't need a sequel. But that's not how $1 billion movies work.
That's a great point.
When a movie makes $1 billion, the studio does not care about the comics. The studio does not care about the history of the character and how long the character's been and all of the lore. The studio says, go make another $1 billion movie. That is all that matters at the end of the day.
You're going to get a sequel whether you want one or not.
So, naturally, we're getting a Joker 2.
Yeah.
Pretty controversial when it came out. A lot of people were mad. I wasn't really for it. It's just hate. The movie ended perfectly. Like, you had great Easter eggs throughout the movie. Like, you set up this like fun story.
Now I'm feeling like I'm really missed out.
It's. I mean, they essentially. What I think the equivalent of, like, they made a cinematic equivalent to The Killing Joke.
Oh wow.
Where not whereas in, like, it's like the same thing, like it was like a retelling. There were some Killing Joke like nods to it for sure, but it was like here's a cinematic origin story. You guys can take it or not. We're not connecting it to any universe, but here's just an origin story that we'll give you guys. And so that's what it kind of felt like, right? Like, that's what Killing Joke is like, here's this origin story. We're not connecting it to anything.
Right.
The readers, the fans can do with it what they want. That's kind of like what Joker felt like. Was like, now here's a cinematic telling of an origin story. Do with it what you want. So they announced the second movie. Then they announced Lady Gaga's Harley Quinn. And then they announced that it's going to be a musical. And that's where stuff starts to get really, really weird. Because then you're like, okay, you have an incredible movie. And now we're adding so many things to this.
Yeah.
So we got the trailer a while ago. And we got some plot points to it also. Here I have written down, or this past weekend or past week, whatever, was the Venice Film Festival. And so that's where like a lot of big films and indie films make their initial debut.
Yeah.
And so Joker Folie à Deux made its debut. And so we have official, only critic ratings. This isn't any fan ratings.
Yeah.
So we have, I think as of last night when I was doing my homework, 44 critics have seen the movie and have rated it. And it currently has a 61% on Rotten Tomatoes.
Okay, so
and Joker,
not great, but it's not terrible either.
I would say that's pretty bad.
Okay.
Let's see what Joker has. I didn't write that down. I should have.
Maybe.
Oh, interesting. Mm-hmm. Joker has a 69% critic rating, and the audience rating is 89%. I thought it would have had a higher critic rating because that film was very much a film. I wouldn't say it was like a comic book movie. I would say it was definitely more in the lines of a film. But anyway, so it's got a 61% critic rating. This is a quote from Nicholas Barber of BBC. Mm-hmm. He said, depending on how you look at it, this why can't I read this word?
Yeah, taking the myth away.
Yeah. Mythologizing. There it is.
Yes.
This demythologizing exercise is either daring or it's irritatingly smug, but it's definitely not much fun. Oh. So some news that came out a few weeks ago from Todd Phillips's mouth was that, and I think I actually read, yes, Joker 2 won't see the Joker become Gotham's clown prince of crime. This is kind of like expanding on this critic's statement. Todd Phillips says, we would never do that because Arthur clearly is not a criminal mastermind. He was never that. Arthur has become the symbol to people, this unwitting symbol now paying for the crimes of the first film, but at the same time finding the only thing he ever wanted, which was love. That's always what he's been about, even though he's been pushed and pulled in all these directions. So we tried to just make the most pure version of that. Now, that is where this whole thing takes a turn for me. Mm-hmm. Is because now he was just given a sandbox to make a movie about whatever he wanted to make a movie about. And he's using these iconic characters to do that. And I feel like I just feel like it's unfair to the character and unfair to the fans, sure. But when you start to like publicize that, like you name a movie Joker, you have a very captivating first movie. And then you come out with the second movie and then you're like, oh yeah, he's not the Gotham's
criminal mastermind,
clown prince of crime. He's not a smart guy. He's never been that. It's like
he just wants to be loved.
So now you're just taking all of the markings of the Joker and you're throwing them out the window and you're just like, no, this is a love story at the end of the day. That is not, first of all, like what Harley Quinn's purpose is in that love part of Joker. And that's not what Joker cares about. So that's kind of what he was saying when he was talking about demythologizing.
There you go. I can't say it either. I'm glad you're saying it.
So yeah, that's kind of what he's referencing is like he's kind of taking these characters and stripping them, and he's like, okay, now what do I want these characters to be?
Well, if that's then write your own movie then, like with your own, create new characters and tell that story about tell unrequited love and a character who is misunderstood when all he really wants is love. That's fine. You can tell that story, but why are you co-opting the Joker into that story?
Yeah.
Because, that's not the Joker as he's been understood and portrayed ever, anywhere. So, yeah, man, that's interesting.
I think even when that kind of interview first came out and that statement was made public, I think what I tweeted was like Todd Phillips really finessed Warner Brothers into letting him use their IP so that he can just make a movie about what he wants to make a movie about.
Wow.
I understand doing like original takes, and that is what Joker 1 felt like. It felt like a different, unique take on the Joker. And I think that's why everybody said when the second movie was announced, we don't want the second movie. Like, just leave it at that. Because now Todd Phillips is going on record saying, "Oh yeah, this isn't actually the Joker." It's like, well, then what the heck is it? Why?
Yeah.
Like, when you still leave so much mystery in that first movie, you know, a lot of times that doesn't work for other movies. Other movies, you're like, I want a sequel, but that's not how it works with the Joker. Like,
Yeah.
that's the type of mystery we want. We don't want all the questions answered when it comes to the Joker, and it was just enough of giving us some answers to questions and asking some questions and leaving it out there of like, you decide, you figure out what it is. You answer that question for yourself.
Yeah.
And it was perfect. Honestly, it was about as close to being a perfect Joker origin story as it could be. And then he just comes around and he says, "Yeah, this isn't the mad genius that." It's like, well, then what are we doing here?
That is not the Joker. What are you talking about? So, and it's a musical.
So yeah, so this is where it gets really interesting. Part of casting Lady Gaga as Harley Quinn was wanting to take a risk and make part of it a musical. But then Phillips also refuses to call Joker 2 a musical. This is a quote. I forgot to write down where he said this. I believe he said this with Variety. Mm-hmm. He said, "It's just Arthur not having the words to say." Sorry, it's just Arthur not having the words to say what he wants to say, so he sings them instead. I just don't want people to think that it's like In the Heights, where the lady in the bodega starts to sing and they take it out into the street and the police are dancing. Look, I love musicals. Dara and I, when we were in New York last, we saw 2 of them. Mm-hmm. I enjoy them. I think that they're very, very moving, and I think that the point that Phillips makes is that when a character, just the genre of musicals, when a character breaks out into song in those musicals, those lyrics can be very powerful. And I'll find myself like emotionally moved for like no reason. And I'm like, I hardly care about this. Like, why? Yeah. But I think that's just because music is so powerful.
Yes, it has that ability. Yep.
So, I mean, we're hoping to go to New York Comic Con, and like we're already looking at like all the musicals and plays we want to go see. So it's like I have to lay out there, I'm a fan of musicals. I've been a fan of musicals. Yeah. I'm not anti-musical. A musical doesn't have to be an old lady singing in a bodega and then you break out into the street.
No.
And it's like all of these extras pop out of nowhere, and it's a dance and song type scene. Like, the point of a musical is literally what he said, that like these characters, as an aside, break into song to express their emotion or to kind of talk about like and give more context to like the scene and like what's going on, or like to give you another perspective.
Yeah. To imbue it with a lot of emotional impact because the music is there.
Yeah.
You know, when I heard that it was gonna be a musical or have musical numbers in it or whatever, I was reticent to see Joker 1, but that made me more interested to see Joker 2 because I thought, well, you've got Lady Gaga, so you might as well utilize that beyond what her acting chops are, which are formidable. But she's that her superpower is her singing is amazing, right? She's got a great voice. People may forget that Joaquin Phoenix played Johnny Cash in Walk the Line, and when they put that album out for the movie, they didn't replace his voice with Johnny Cash's voice. It's Joaquin Phoenix to the singing. Yeah, he can sing. I think the way that you just read the director characterized the singing, aside from him being defensive about it, if it's really what he's saying it might actually really be good. Like, if these are sort of these intimate moments between Harley Quinn and Arthur or the Joker or whatever, and this is how they communicate with one another, and that could actually be really good.
Yeah, for sure.
I think that could be really very good. It would. I do think it would be weird if they break out and it's a Fred Astaire umbrellas twirling and the police,
for sure.
Like. But then again, that worked in La La Land pretty well. That was a huge movie.
Yeah.
But that I think that could be kind of interesting if it's not overboard.
one of my favorite musicals. We actually just watched it again the other day, not because of this, but just coincidentally. We watched Tick, Tick, Boom. I don't know if you've ever seen it. It's a story about the iconic, unfortunately, died way too young, Jonathan Larson. He wrote Rent.
Oh, yeah.
And he had died the night before. He never got to see it on stage. I mean, he put, the practice and everything, but the night before it was like going to make its debut, he died. And so he wrote this musical called Tick, Tick, Boom before Rent. And he had originally wrote a musical called Superbia, which was like a fantasy sci-fi type thing. And people loved it, but the producers of Broadway and his agent just didn't think it had what it took to be on Broadway.
Okay. Or
even to be on off Broadway. Like sci-fi musical, it was just a lot. And like I think his agent says in the movie, and I don't know if this is indicative of anything that like happened in real life, but his agent said like that's just not what tourists are. They're not gonna take a risk on spending $50 to go watch that. So after he like kind of does his whole push for the Superbia thing, it's kind of like, okay, now you gotta go on to the next thing. And so he writes this thing called Tick, Tick, Boom. And it's basically a story about how he feels like he's running out of time. He's approaching 30. Stephen Sondheim had already written his biggest musical. And, he talks about other people. Like by the time they hit 30, they've already written their greatest pieces. Yeah. I'm pushing 30. I'm turning 30, this week.
30s does not sound old to me, but I get it.
And he's like, and I haven't done anything. So he writes this, it's not like your traditional musical or like what would pop into your head. It's kind of like him at a piano playing, and he's got a couple other musicians, and he's telling a story, and then he'll go into song, and so it's kind of like that. So he did that, and then he did Rent after that. It's a long explanation, but anyways, so they did a Netflix adaptation of Tick, Tick, Boom. Lin-Manuel Miranda directed it. Tick, Tick, Boom is actually one of the musicals that kind of catapulted him onto his Broadway dream. As we know, Lin-Manuel Miranda wrote Hamilton. So he made this movie he turned it into a movie with Netflix. Andrew Garfield plays Jonathan Larson. And it's a very serious movie. It's a movie about losing a lot of friends to AIDS in the 80s and 90s. And, that's partially what Rent is about. And it's about being a creative and failing and losing relationships because of that, because you're giving yourself to like the craft, into the game, into wanting to be successful, and losing like love over those types of things. And it's a really deep and profound movie. And it's a musical by all means. It's the story will be interrupted by song, but it's not like The Sound of Music, Fred Astaire. Like it's not any of that. It's a movie that's deep and about really serious themes, and it's a musical. It's not afraid to call itself a musical. Yeah. So, anyways, I say all of that to say, like, if he's afraid to call it a musical, like, that's what makes me like not confident that like this is actually going to be anything. Like, it's not going to be a musical, and it's not going to be a movie.
If you're going to do it, full send it, right?
Right. Exactly. So it's like just the hesitation. I'm just kind of like, are you like? Is this movie even anything?
Are you already apologizing for it? Or what's happening
exactly.
here?
Yeah, no, literally. Like that's kind of how I feel. It's like, because for anybody who is a fan of a musical, they know about Tick, Tick, Boom and
they know
La La Land. Like you said, like it's not like there are some like the freeway sequences, sure. Yeah. But there are other songs in that movie that are not as kind of your stereotypical.
When I was a kid, it was Grease. That was the big movie.
Yeah. So I don't know. I just think he's not confident talking about it. Like he's kind of already giving it excuses.
Oh man.
And I think that's
not a good indication at all.
Yeah.
I hope I hope it's great. I want it to be great. For because I like a good movie, but I think any time a comic book movie or a movie that's based in these comic book universes does well, it's just good for the hobby in general.
Yeah.
And I'm all for doing some avant-garde, trying new things. I love that. I think it's cool. But man, you kind of spelled out the road, the map they had to catastrophe from the very beginning when you said they didn't really need a sequel. They didn't really want a sequel, but it was really strictly a financial decision. And when any creative endeavor that is primarily a financial endeavor, even I say this, and we all know that movies is a mega billion trillion dollar industry, so everything's money related, obviously. But if that's the driving force, that's probably not going to bode well. And maybe like the movie theater said, Warner Brothers said, look, we just want another Joker because we know that even if it's not a good movie, if there's going to be a decent percentage of the people who went and saw the first Joker, they'll see this one just because they're movie completionists. Like they're going to see it. And so they almost know they can make money on it. And like you said, maybe he got a free sandbox to play in and do whatever he wants. So it really comes down to, what'd you do with it?
Yeah.
Did you? And so you got to take your cues from what he thinks about it. I don't know. It doesn't sound good if he's not thinking it's great. But 61% is not terrible.
My thing is, I would like, what's funny? He said, so Joker 1 has 69%, Joker 2 is sitting at 61%. You know what In the Heights has?
What?
On Rotten Tomatoes? 94%.
Well, maybe he needs to have In the Heights then. Make sure you get a little more of that in. Why wouldn't you want to tie yourself to that?
Exactly. So, the thing with Joker 2 also is, the reason why I didn't want a sequel is because of this very reason. Because you can only tell a Joker origin story for so long without having Batman.
That's a great point. That's right. They are intertwined, inexorably intertwined. Their origins ought to and are intertwined. They are the flip side of the same coin. It's practically a Platonic storytelling motif. That this is. Yeah, I don't even want to even think about that. Yeah, you can't. Batman can't be absent for too long before it all comes apart, unless, of course, like you were saying, this isn't really the Joker.
Yeah. Well, that's what he's saying.
Well, if he's saying it, then what are we doing then?
So, Todd Phillips in the same interview also says this interpretation of Harley Quinn will not be what we're accustomed to. The high voice, that accent, the gun chewing, and all that sort of sassy stuff that's in the comics, we stripped that away when we wanted her to fit into this world of Gotham that we created from the first movie. Again, I think that's fine, but let us experience that. Like, show, don't tell. And I feel like this movie is failing ahead of its public release date because he's already telling us about everything.
Right. Let us be surprised by that.
Yeah, like let us define if it's a musical or not. Like let us go into the movie and have our own opinions on this take on Harley.
Yeah.
We're not going to be, I guarantee you, if we go into that movie, subconsciously we're going to see that it's a different Harley than this Harley. Right? It's not the heavy Brooklyn Jersey accent, whatever accent she has. She's not, snappy gum. She's not like this, she's unhinged, crazy.
She's not Margot Robbie.
Right. And we'll subconsciously take note of that. But if we see it play out on screen in a different way, there's a better chance of us liking it as opposed to you saying, oh, that character you like, yeah, it's going to be nothing like that. Because at that point, then we're going to be super defensive well, okay, well, you're already kind of spitting on the image of Joker by saying this isn't the Clown Prince of Crime. And now you're telling us that Harley Quinn that you like and that's been really successful so far, it's also not that either. It's like, okay, well, can you leave some element of surprise? Let those types of things can work. Heath Ledger as the Joker, like before that came out, everybody was like, dude, he makes rom-coms. Like he's not going to be a good Joker. And then he blew our minds.
Yeah, he completely blew our minds.
And they didn't tell us like, oh no, this is a totally different take on the, like, trust me, just like just wait, like you're gonna see. They didn't tell us anything. They were just like, you're gonna go in the movie, you're gonna see for yourself. Like, and that's how that was victorious. With this,
he's already defending it. He's defending all of his decisions, which makes you nervous.
Right,
like,
exactly.
You don't really trust your work to defend itself, and that's not a good sign.
Yeah, so I think it's gonna be interesting. Something else that I noted here was that it's been noted by critics and Todd Phillips in another interview that he's swapping the roles of Joker and Harley Quinn in this movie. So notoriously, Joker was in a psych ward being evaluated by Harleen Quinzel, and great episode. If you haven't seen that episode, by the way, from the Batman animated series, really good. I think it's called Mad Love.
Yes.
And so, he's just under evaluation and is being treated, mentally, and because he's a genius, he kind of sees that he wants to captivate Harleen and make her his, and so he kind of like flips it on her and he causes her to snap, and then she becomes Harley Quinn. And now in this movie, it's going to be Harley Quinn who causes Arthur Fleck, which is Joker's name, to snap back to who he was before. And so this is going to pose an interesting problem in the community, because I would say one of the bigger gripes that the original movie had was it was kind of seen in like, you kind of saw it either in like one of two ways. Like, outsiders in society are not treated well, and they're continuously outcasted and never listened to, and society doesn't really know how to handle those types of people, which is why in America we just have this perpetuating problem of drugs and homelessness. And so that was one way that people saw it. Another way that people saw it, which for spoiler purposes for you, I'll avoid, but there is a perspective where you could see of like, he's kind of just facing constant rejection of love, which is Todd Phillips is kind of giving this theory like validity, because he said earlier
he just wants to be loved.
He just wants to be loved, which you kind of have. It's like less outsider and more like cringe online internet. We call them incels, who like follow like the Andrew Tates of the world, and where it's like women are the reason your life is miserable. So like, screw women. You got to be your own man. You got to wake up at 5 a.m., work out, and like and like all these things, and just like like toxic masculinity, like in its purest form. Yeah. And so, or its impurest form, but like toxic masculinity, like as it is. And so people have like seen like, oh, like he's kind of like trying to make us sympathize with the average incel. And so now, with the roles being flipped between Joker and Harley making him the one snap, now people are already talking about it online. It's like, yeah, Joker is an incel, and Todd Phillips is trying to make us sympathize for him, and continuing to villainize like women from this perspective of like toxic masculinity. It's women who make men snap into who they are, and it's always the woman's fault for men, the abuse that they cause or whatever it may be.
In the first movie, he had a terrible relationship with his mom, right?
Yeah, and another character.
And another character. Okay, I know that much about it. Yeah.
So, I think it's interesting that he's actually. I think it's interesting that he flipped the roles, because I think I wouldn't see it from that perspective. But then him doubling down that it is a story of love, and then he flips the roles like that. I think I think it's weird. I think that is weird. Like, and I have to see the movie to have a final opinion. I didn't see the first movie from that lens. I definitely saw it as like, okay, there's actually like there is a problem when it comes to people with mental health, like, and the way that society treats those people, and the way that like the pharmaceutical companies and stuff like that treat those people is a big problem.
Yeah,
that's kind of how I saw it. But when he says this, when he has that comment about the love story, and then he flips the roles of Joker and Harley, that's where I'm like, oh, okay, maybe those people were right. I thought that they were just like kind of putting like implying more of their own what they wanted to see into the movie. But I don't know. I guess we'll see when the movie comes out.
I guess we'll see. When's it coming out?
October something.
Okay.
So Halloween time.
So I have between now and then to watch Joker with you. I'll watch it with you.
Yeah, we'll watch it together.
Watch it together. I'll watch it so you don't get scared. With you, I'll watch it with you so you don't get scared. No, I'll keep you from getting scared. Keep you from getting depressed. No, I'm just kidding. We can handle it. We'll be fine.
No, it's not. It's not scary. It's just like, it's the gut. There's two scenes in particular that you watch. That's just like it's the deepest, darkest pit in your stomach that you feel. It's the same. Honestly, this is weird. It's the same reason why I can't watch Radio. Do you remember that movie with Cuba Gooding Jr.?
Yeah.
The way that they treat him.
Yeah, it's so sad.
It's just like I can't. I've seen it a couple times growing up, and even as like a 10-year-old watching that movie, it still made me feel that way. It's like a very similar feeling.
When he's being treated poorly and he doesn't realize he's being treated poorly, that's hard.
Yeah.
He just heart breaks, right?
Yeah. The bathroom scene in that movie. I don't know if you remember. Oh my gosh.
Well, that's because you're a good guy, Joshua. So you have a good heart.
So anyways, you introduce a similar idea, a similar concept, but then you put it in a very dark movie and a thriller type movie, and it just like makes it all like worse than what I felt with Radio.
Okay.
But
I'll brace myself for it.
Yeah. So I think a problem with this movie, this is kind of just my projection, is Gotham isn't a character. Gotham was not much of a character in the first movie, and it seems like Gotham isn't a character in the second movie.
Yeah. Better not be if there's no Batman. I mean...
Which I think Gotham is like always and forever in Batman lore, like the number one villain, like the like second most important.
Yeah, it's the thing that births all the bad guys. They come to be because Gotham is this petri dish to make it happen.
So and I think in the first movie you kind of see hints of that because you're like, oh, like Gotham is creating like this villain. But then back to the love thing. Like, no, Gotham's not creating this villain. It's his lack of love. Women
are creating it, according to which we don't agree with. But
I don't know. Okay. So I think it's like if Gotham doesn't become a character in the second movie, then I think it's safe to say this isn't a Joker movie at all.
Yeah.
And I think if Todd Phillips wants to say that, like, I mean, he's pretty much half said it, like. Yeah. He's also already said, don't hold your breath for a third movie. So I think he was probably already reluctant to make this movie.
He's like burnt out. He's like, I'm done.
Yeah.
I can't do it anymore.
So he's given enough excuses.
I know. So maybe he's just what's the term? Sandbagging us, and it's like this amazing movie, and he knows it, and he's just like setting us up. That would be cool.
Yeah.
I doubt it.
Yeah. I doubt it too. Anyways, you talk about a movie that is incredible, where Gotham is a character in the movie, where Gotham is probably the main character of the movie. Well, Batman's the main character, but definitely the second character is the Batman.
Yeah.
This beautiful poster. I actually love to kind of add on to the point, but with this movie, the way Gotham is portrayed in this movie is so good.
Yeah, yeah.
The first 10 minutes of this movie is incredible. And by the end of the movie, you see how Gotham has shaped this Batman. You see how Gotham has shaped the politics.
Yeah.
And you see how Gotham has shaped the Riddler. And that's, I think, part of what makes this movie so good. But anyways, we have a little bit of Batman 2 news.
Yep.
Matt Reeves is almost done writing the script. So the movie will film next year. assuming everything stays on track.
Finally.
And it'll come out in 2026.
That just feels like so long. Okay.
I know, right?
How many times do I have to watch this movie to,
I know.
get my Batman fix?
It's shit, man. It's such a good movie.
Yeah.
But Matt Reeves was in an interview, said a lot of cool things just about the movie, but this was the most important thing. Matt Reeves gives the first details on the Batman 2. It's going to dig into the epic story about deeper corruption, and it goes into places he couldn't anticipate in the first one. So I read that. I immediately hit quote retweet, and I said, Court of Owls, let's go. And I did as many O's in let's go as Twitter would let me.
And then you texted me.
And then I texted you. Here's my copy of Batman 6. This is a CGC 9.8 white pager. I have 3 copies of this book, even after giving you one.
Yes.
I still have 3 copies. Court of Owls. If you have not read this, it's Batman 52. Started in 2011. Goes from like issue 1, just read through like issue 10 or 12, I think. Somewhere in that ballpark, you'll essentially get the whole Court of Owls run. Just incredible.
And that book is the first team appearance of the Court of Owls, but there are individual members of the Court of Owls that show up in early issues of that run. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
God, that's so cool.
So it's not even noted that this is the first appearance of the Court of Owls on the slab, but it is. Yes, and I've read the series. So there's a villain that comes out of the Court of Owls known as Harper Row. But you talk about corruption in Gotham. I don't think you can talk about corruption in Gotham post 2011 without talking about the Court of Owls.
Was that one of your sleepers at some point? I can't remember now.
I don't think it actually ever was a sleeper.
But it's been a sleeper of yours for a while because you've been telling me about it for a long time.
Years, yeah.
Yeah, for
Since
a couple
the
years
beginning.
now. Yeah.
If you don't have this book, get this book.
Hurry. Before it's too late.
I bought a copy a couple months ago.
Yeah, you're always on the lookout for it. If you find a high grade copy at a fair
Where did I
price.
buy it? Comics and Cocktails. And,
Right.
And I heard this. I feel like we told this story before, but so we'll tell it again briefly in case you haven't heard it. We were at Comics and Cocktails. I was about done. Like I had looked through everything. Bob is at a booth, so I'm like, all right, let me just go catch up with Bob. So Bob is looking through. I think you were looking through some slabs maybe at this booth, and so I just like hopped into like one of the boxes and I'm looking through. I see this book and I'm like, oh. I pull it out and I'm like, this is a sharp copy. So I hand it to the guy and I was like, there was no price on it. So I was like, how much do you want for it? And he goes, oh, let me see. You could tell he starts looking at his phone, but there's kind of a lot going on at his booth at the time. So he probably was just like, I don't want to like research this right now. So he goes, how's $25? Sure thing, man. Take, here's 40.
Yeah, just so I can get out of here. Keep the change. I got to run away.
So I gave him 25, and then seconds later, you had another book. I don't remember what it was. And then you were like, well, let me see if you'll do the same thing.
Yeah, it was a slabbed. What was it? It was a variant cover of some kind. I can't remember what it was anymore, but it was a really nice cover. Not even that, typically that expensive a book. It probably should have been maybe a $50 book, $6 book, even in the slab. But I'm thinking, hey, look, you just got it for $25. Like, that's crazy.
Yeah.
So I might as well just go ahead and ask. And he's like, what did he say to me?
It's like,
well, this is a really nice cover. Like, and he throws like $150.
Yeah, it was like $150.
It was like way over valued. And I'm like, okay. And I walked away and I was happy for you, but I'm just like kind of grumbling because it happens all the time. Like I'll be standing there going through whatever I'm going through, and you'll walk up and you'll go like, doot, 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 doot. And then you just pull out this key book, like in an unmarked grave. You're like, there's just no fanfare at all, and get it for $10. And then you walk away and you're like, dude, I just got, whether it's the first Grant Morrison on the Superman, the Superman story run, or it's the Court of Owls, or it's Court of Owls, a couple of times you did that with Court of Owls, like that I know of. The first, what's the one that you always get at the antique store? Like every time you go there, you find it.
Oh, X-Men Annual 14.
Yes, a first Gambit all the time. So it's becoming like at some point, like I should some of that should rub off on me, like me just being next to you. But maybe the problem is I shouldn't be in the same booth as you at the same time, because when I am, all the good fortune runs your way. But no, I was stoked for you to get that book. That was But I was so disappointed that I didn't get a deal. I thought for sure I would get. Wish I can't remember what that slab was. What was it? I don't
remember.
I feel like it was. I don't think it was a Catwoman cover though.
I think it was silk. I think
it was a silk cover. Yes, it was. I remember now. It was a silk cover.
Was it a Ji Hyung Lee one?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it was one that you have. It's the one where she's got the red. Well, that's not unusual, but she has the red mask over her mouth. But that's what it was.
Yeah.
And it was one of the more iconic silk covers.
Right. Yes.
And you already have a copy of it, and I don't. I have a couple of other really cool silk covers, and I thought, oh, this would be my chance. This is my great chance. He's giving away deals. Oh yeah, I haven't even mentioned when you got the FF2. We told that story already. FF Annual 2. We told that story already. We were like, how much is this? He's like, he looks over. He's like, he's chewing on a granola bar. Yeah, I don't know, $50.
Yeah. So.
Oh man.
I think this is a great buy right now. If he's talking about corruption in Gotham, go pick up this book.
Yeah, that's insider information, because it's not that information without knowledge isn't enough to know that the first Court of Owls should be in your on your radar.
Yeah.
But because you've read those books and you know them so well, you can connect that to look, if it's going to be corruption deeper than deeper than the corruption that's already been exposed in Batman movies, it's got to be Court of Owls.
The simplest way to define Court of Owls is just like the Illuminati of Gotham. Like that's just like a intro. Like, oh man, it's more than that, but that's just like the easiest way to explain it. So
get it while this is probably your last year to do it.
Yeah.
Because somewhere between now and 2026, when it comes out, that information, if you're right, will leak, and then forget it.
Yeah.
Because this book has everything else going for it too. For instance, the cover.
The cover's sweet. Yeah.
Man, oh man.
So, yeah, that's a very news heavy day. But
We weren't planning to talk about the Bengate at all, but news broke, so here we are.
Let me check one more time to see if he responded and give us the source. No, he hasn't responded yet. So, I'll try to find it and link to it. But we're headed off to the extended. Going to take a quick break and then film the extended. So that's free for you guys this week. Thanks so much for watching.
Yeah, thanks for watching.
And we'll see you guys in a couple of minutes. Well, for us, it'll be a couple minutes because we'll take a break. So off to the extended.
Bye.
No more gatos.
Sorry, gatos. You gotta go.
Oh, I know you want to sleep, man.
So cute.
Oh, yeah. He always calls me. You can hang out in here. You just can't be up there. All right, I'll pick him up. You gotta take the seat back.
All right.
Or close the door. I'll just hold him and we'll record.
That'll be fun. Asher's gonna make his debut. First appearance of Asher.
Asher. Hey. Come here, bud.
Ooh, let's go. What do we got going on here?
All right. Welcome to the first part of the extended episode. Got a little bit of an unboxing. And it's a cool unboxing. This is actually it's a slab that I got for a wicked price. That is something that you and I started collecting.
Really?
Which is never good when you and I start overlapping.
No.
Also, I don't understand why. I mean, I get it, but
Wow.
It's like the Russian, those, like
What are those things called?
those toys.
Yeah, they're dolls, right?
Yeah.
There's a name for it, but it's a doll inside the doll. I think it's a Russian doll. I think that's what it's called.
I mean, it's pretty much what this
Please,
is.
I want nothing more than for another box to be in this box right here.
I mean, there will be, but not a white box.
Oh, okay.
Oh, no, there's not. Okay.
Okay.
I thought there might be like a.
How quickly does it take your recycled trash can to fill up around here?
Depends on the week.
I mean, sometimes I'm just like, this is ridiculous. I can't even. I have to.
Sometimes it's a day. Sometimes it's not.
Today, I got like 8 Bifrost covers this week. None of them were very expensive. They were, random Thor issues from the 80s, 90s, and whatever. It's kind of fun to collect things that aren't expensive.
Yeah.
Sometimes, you can actually get that satisfaction. Doesn't break the bank. Problem is, I bought a bunch of other stuff in the midst.
All right, so I got some raws here, and I got one slab. So this was purchased last week.
Okay.
When Elite was on site with Nickel and Dime.
Oh yeah.
Sorry, Nickel and Dime. I don't know if audio got that.
That was a great sale. We were both on that sale at the same time.
Yeah. So.
But I wasn't there when you bought, and I don't think you were on when I bought.
Got all these fancy tricks to like.
So did you get that today?
I just got this today, yeah.
Oh, so I bet mine's in my mailbox right now, because we were at the same sale.
All right. Honestly, I don't even remember all the raws that I got.
Yeah, that's kind of fun though, right? It's well packaged. You need a knife? Yeah.
I don't like to do it with a knife.
I know. I actually scarred one of my books once doing that. It wasn't like a key issue, but it was.
Oh, I forgot I got this book. Oh my gosh. I've been collecting these.
All right, let's see it. Man, this is epic. There's like 17 pieces of tape on this.
Yeah, it's no joke.
Mad respect to Nickel and Dime Comics. They're not playing around with their packaging.
At least it's like easy to take off. It's annoying when it's like.
Yeah, they left you tabs and things that you
Yeah.
could pull the tape off. Consider it.
Okay. So, start. All right, from back here. So this book came out recently. I thought it was an art germ, honestly, but I was mistaken. It's not. This is Daredevil 1 Virgin variant.
Wow.
So,
Gorgeous.
yeah, beautiful. Hand that to you.
Hey, that's a towering cover.
Yeah, true it is.
That's cool.
I have the trade dress variant because that one came out when issue 1 came out. This one is a Bill Everett cover.
Really?
Yeah,
Oh, wow.
kind of.
Oh, yeah.
So,
Awesome. What
Yeah.
What is that exactly? It's just that is really cool.
yeah, it's just like a issue number 1.
Wow. That's a cool book.
And if you know me, you know that I love Nakayama, especially when he's not doing like his like blank background with a superhero pose. Like that's kind of like his, feels like that's his default for some Marvel stuff nowadays. So I like his more clever, nuanced work. So got this Deadpool one.
That's a nice
Super
book.
sweet.
I remember that book when that came. You were the one who bought this book?
Yeah.
I was thinking about it. That's really nice.
All right, and this book, man, I can't believe the price that I got this book for. So this is a 4.0 from 1966. This is one of 7 issues that has Daredevil in a yellow costume on the cover. Now, he had this priced. This is a 4.0. He had this priced at $24. I asked him if I could see it up close. He said, "Yep," and he showed it, and he said, "I'll do $10." So, see right there, 24. Got this for $10.
So $10, twice what it costs for a brand new book off the rack. Oh. How on earth are you getting that for $10?
And honestly,
Here we go again with these crazy deals that fall in your lap.
I don't know why he said 4.0 because this is not a 4.0. So this reprints Daredevil.
Is it better than a 4.0? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, it looks better than a 4.0. I've actually been collecting these like Marvel superheroes. I have a couple at CGC, or maybe only one at CGC. Yeah. It's a Doom cover one. But yeah, they just reprint. Like this reprints Daredevil 1 and Avengers 2. And what is this one? Looks like an FF because it's Subby versus
Torch.
So
that is 1966.
Yep.
So how much does it cost to get a Golden Record reprint from about the same time? They're very expensive.
Yeah.
So, like, at what point do you start esteeming the reprints more than just, well, it's a reprint? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I think a 1966 reprint, that's way closer to the original publication date than present.
Yeah.
Let's put it that way. $10. That's man, you should just write him a thank you note for that. $10. Can I see it?
Yeah. So this is the first one-shot format published by Marvel. And it's the first reprint of Daredevil 1.
Wow, that's oh yeah, he was very, very kind and conservative with his grade. This is I would say this is a higher grade than a 4. It looks like a I mean, without my glasses, unless there's something on the back I'm missing, wouldn't you put this at like a 5.5 or a 6?
Yeah, I put it way closer that way. Sorry, I wasn't. So that's a one shot. Okay. Marvel superheroes. I've been collecting Marvel Collector's Item Classics, which is, I think that's what that might have spun off to.
Yeah, and Collector's Item Classics usually reprint 2 to 3 stories, right? Yeah. Oh man, this might be like the progenitor of that.
Yeah, that's what it looks like.
Wow, I love that brown cover. It makes me think of FF50.
Yeah.
Maybe they got a deal on brown ink during this time.
So I have Marvel Comics Item Classics 12 at CGC right now. I'll show that cover on screen, but it's a sweet Doom.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So let me see.
Those are under the radar. People are gonna wish they had them someday.
Yeah, man. I mean, it's
a reprint, but it's so old. It's its own thing, though.
It's barely a reprint.
That's what I'm saying. It's like it's old enough to, like it's a reprint. It's telling former stories, but it's old enough to be a standalone thing.
Yeah, dude. Yesterday.
Great grabs.
Thank you. Yesterday. Coverless Daredevil 1 sold on at last.
I saw that book, but how much did I guess
it's like $4.50 or something like that. That's criminal. Somebody got away with robbery.
I just bought a coverless book, as a matter of fact.
I would buy a coverless Daredevil 1 and because that's the splash page, that Bill Everett. It's the same thing.
It was on there for a while, dude.
Yeah, I know. I just didn't.
I just figured you'd seen it. I should have sent it to you then.
No.
Sorry.
I didn't see it. I send you everything.
I know, but that's like, sometimes that's hurtful because I'm not hurtful, but it doesn't help because I'm trying to like save up and I wind up buying stuff. You sent me like an FF1. So at least that was like a really just me being a tourist, but.
Yeah. If I would have seen it, I probably would have. I don't know that I would have bought it actually, but I probably would have considered it big time. Okay, this next book is something that you and I have been unfortunately been overlapping in our collecting.
Okay. Oh, totally.
So, this had a sticker price of $250. I offered $160. This was at the very end of the sale.
An aggressive offer.
It was an aggressive offer. This was at the end of the sale. He was just giving out deals
because he'd sold everything.
He had essentially sold everything
over 2 days. It was an insane sale.
He was pretty much like, okay, let's just clear the wall. Like that's pretty much what he was doing. Was like, let's clear the wall. It's time to make sales. So he was giving out really good deals, and Elite was chipping in. Ali was chipping in a lot. So I was like 250. Like, all right. So I went 160, and he was like, meet me at 175. And Ali was like, I'll chip in the 15, give it to Spro for 160. So right there, 250, 160 to Spro, 15 to Elite. And this is Journey into Mystery 103, first appearance of Enchantress. So I actually wanted this book before we started collecting Bifrost covers. But then obviously when we started the Bifrost, I wanted it more. But
that's beautiful.
Yeah. Gorgeous book.
Man, oh man.
Cream to off-white pages. You guys know I'm not a big fan of cream pages, but I'm not too mad. I got it for a good deal. I can't complain.
Oh man, it's such a beautiful book. The color strike, yeah, but the color contrast in the colors in that one, the red on the top.
Yeah.
And, it's just so, and the green, it's beautiful.
Yeah, Enchantress is a cool character. If you guys play Marvel Snap, you guys know that she's annoying. I hate playing against Enchantress players.
And the thing about the Bifrost covers and the way they treat the Bifrost, this is the second appearance of the Bifrost on a cover. The first one is Journey of Mystery 88.
Oh, really?
And yeah, and the early Bifrost covers, they had the rainbow's pastel.
Oh, that actually looks unpressed.
You should crack it and press it then.
Let me see. The way you just like angled it, I was like, oh yeah, this is not pressed. I'm cracking it. Yeah.
All right, stay tuned.
Yeah, the spine is a little worn, but honestly, I'll have to check the grader notes. Oh my gosh, yeah. I'll check the grader notes to make sure there's nothing like crazy. This could get up to a 3.5. But I saw that book. The only reason I didn't bite on it or consider biting on it, I wouldn't have probably gotten the deal you got because you're more aggressive with offers. I need to do that more. I need to be like a tougher negotiator. I'm always like, I don't want to insult them with my offer. So I wouldn't have offered him. But I saw this earlier, and I wasn't going to offer this earlier.
But it was the context. But he had invited aggressive offers by saying, "Look, let's clear the wall." But I had my version of my copy of this was en route to me that I bought one basically the same week you did because we both decided to go for Bifrost covers. But this one, there's this one, and then there's 111, and in between there somewhere is the Tales to Astonish 101 that you got, and I recently got it raw. They're all pastel Bifrost covers, but after that, you start seeing it's all primary colors. You see it looks like a rainbow. So I think CGC should start noting when it's a Bifrost cover, and I think they should note when there's pastel Bifrost versus the rainbow, the primary Bifrost, because the pastel is the original look of it.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I'm being, that's me just pumping up my collection, probably.
Not CGC, CBCS too.
Right. Excuse me, CBCS. Gorgeous book.
Put it here. So, quick little unboxing. That box delivered this morning. So
love it. There you go.
Yeah. All right. On to the main meat of our conversation here. We're actually going to tell you guys a story.
Oh man, this is a whopper.
This is This is a story all about how my life got turned upside down. If you'd like to take a minute, just sit right there. I'll tell you how I became the prince of a town called Bel Air. Boom, 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 boom. And West Philadelphia. I can sing that whole thing.
You could.
So this is a story about 2 years ago now, I think. Yeah.
Yep.
Right? 2 years ago. And trying to remember, I think it was like I was at your house. I want to say Thanksgiving, but I feel like it wasn't Thanksgiving. But I want to say it was around that time.
Yeah, it was autumn sometime, yeah.
Late autumn, early winter. And I was at his house. We're having dinner. I just remember it was like more of a formal dinner. I don't remember why. I don't know. And anyway, so we finish eating and I'm looking on Facebook Marketplace, the like collections, and come across Fantastic Four issue 1, Amazing Fantasy 15, and I think FF48.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Maybe there was more, I don't remember.
Yeah, there were some others, but those were the...
And he wanted like 10,000, 12,000, 10,000. He wanted 10,000. And I mean, the pictures, the books looked in nice condition, but they didn't look like repo covers.
Right.
They didn't look like glossy reprints. And it was confusing. And the thing I always say is if it looks like it's too good of a deal, it probably is. If it looks like you're just getting an absolute steal, unrealistic, this should never happen, it's probably like not legit.
Yeah.
But something about these reprinted covers, they just looked legit. So I show Bob and you give me your reaction. I don't really remember what it was. And then I messaged the guy and I'm like, hey, can I come check these out? However, I also kind of discovered that this person was in Vegas. And we live about 6 hours from Vegas. So,
oh my God.
He was like, yeah, when can you meet up? I can meet like this time and this. And I was like, well, I'm not from like,
LA,
I'd have to
LA
come,
County. Yeah.
Yeah, I'd have to come from the weekend, like over the weekend. He was like, okay, yeah, I can meet you like this time. So I was like, okay, Bob, like you want to go? Like, I mean, it's probably not legit, but it looks legit.
Yeah.
So on the off chance that it is legit, this could be like the find of the year.
Yeah.
Okay, he was asking $10,000. So it's like, okay, like this person, my thought was if he would have had those books listed for $2,000, I would have just scrolled past.
Of course.
But $10,000, I'm like, did this dude get like a storage unit and like found these in there? Did he inherit them from a grandparent?
And just the context of this is you had at this stage gotten some really cool finds and deals through Facebook Marketplace.
Yeah.
You know,
not Deadpool.
Not at that level, but you had gotten a taste for maybe there's some gems to be found in searching in these areas, you know. So and then so you had asked me to go, and you know, and I'm in the middle of the school year, and I'm like, man, you know, that's 6 hours there, 6 hours back, or whatever. It's going to be basically a turnaround, which in retrospect we probably should have just stayed the night and made like a night of it. Like, I think we've talked about that, but at that point we really hadn't been hanging out a lot yet. So the truth is, like, we obviously were family, but we weren't friends yet.
Yeah,
I would say, right?
Yeah.
Like we are now. Like now I'd be like, yeah, you want to go to Vegas for the night? Sure. It would be fun, right?
Yeah.
So it was like, but I remember talking to Deb about it, and the consensus in my house was, look, if it's legitimate, that'd be so much fun to be a part of it.
Yeah.
And just, you know, to be a part of it with you. And if it's not someone should be there for your protection. You know, not that I'm like all that. I just mean safety in numbers. Like there's
Yeah, for sure.
can't let you like. I think I remember Deb saying, "Well, you can't let him do that by himself."
Yeah.
I'm like, well, not. I mean, it was a very brief conversation. I kind of knew I was going to go all along,
Yeah.
but it was that it definitely crossed our minds. Like this could really be dangerous because it's a big number. And it's not like you're going to show up and say you're not going to show up there with a credit card to buy these books. It's going to be cash. So they can assume anyway. So that was that's why I said yes.
Yeah. I'm not sure that I would have gone without you just because I wouldn't have wanted to make that drive.
Yeah.
But there's definitely no doubt that I would have toyed with the idea just because it looked legit. But I think if you would have said no, I probably would have played with it in my mind a little bit. And then I probably would have ended up at, this is probably a scam, so it's not worth it.
But then you would have never known, and maybe you've always resented me.
It would be, it'd be scratching at me forever. So anyway, so I borrow a truck from a friend, and
oh my gosh.
get to my house early in the morning with some McDonald's, and we're ready to roll.
Anyway, why did you borrow the truck? Because you had a car, but you borrowed a truck there's a reason why you borrowed a truck. Was it there was someone else?
Oh right, so I borrowed a truck because I had a contingency in place. So I found somebody. So basically what I did was, okay, if I'm going to Vegas to look at these books from this guy, if it turns out to be a scam, I don't want the trip to be a waste. So I'm going to look up other people that are selling collections in the area. So I found this one guy. Amazing, like honestly, like really cool books, like Bronze Age
Hulk stuff, and like spread out.
Just really, really cool books. Asking like really, at the time, it seemed like it was like a really good deal.
Yeah, like bulk prices.
Yeah, so I was like, okay, cool. Like if this falls, we'll just go to this guy, and we'll have a handful of $1,000, and we'll just buy however much this dude lets us buy. So borrow my friend's truck, get in the truck, go to Vegas. And we get to Vegas. It was like, first thing I got to do is filled up the car. And then he was like, okay, meet me here at this time. So like, okay, cool.
It's like apartment complex or something like that.
Yeah, it was like a weird like rundown casino. Like
that's what it was. It was
not close to the strip. But then there was also like apartments right next to it. Like, I don't know. So we pulled up and we're sitting in the parking lot. I'm like, hey, I'm here. Nothing. It's like, okay, whatever. Wait 15, 20 minutes. Things happen. Like, no big deal. Nothing. Again, hey, I'm here. I'll be here for, if I don't hear back from you, I'm gonna leave.
Yeah.
And I'm like, no, my bad. I'm caught up at school, like with my kid. Mm-hmm. But then that's where it got weird because it was like, school was out at that time.
Yeah, it was Thanksgiving week or something like that.
Well, it was like, it was something about kids not being in school.
Yeah,
I don't remember what it was because I think
the story didn't add up. Yeah, the story didn't add up.
I think it was in December, and we even looked up. I think kids in Vegas were out of school for the semester, so the story didn't add up. So we were like, okay, this is getting weird. Like, let's just leave. Like. Yeah. So just told the person, hey, we're leaving. Like, and then we found a comic shop like close by. And so we were like, all right, like we'll just go there. And then they messaged me. They're like, no, like my bad. Like I can meet up with you. And I was like, well, like I'm doing something else now. Like I'll let you know when like can meet up again. So we went to this other comic shop and we just like, it wasn't anything crazy.
But I had a chance to buy a nice raw near mint Nova 1, like 1976 Nova 1. It was like $100, $75, something like that. And I didn't buy it. And I wish I had, because that's a book that I sold at a garage sale and part of a big bin of boxes. I just didn't realize it was in there for nothing, that I had for my whole life. And now it's finally popping off. So I feel that was like the first indication, like, well, it wasn't because we didn't know at the time, but looking back, that was a fail.
Yeah. And then they also had First Man Thing. The sort of
the Savage Tales 1 magazine.
Yeah.
We didn't really buy anything at the comic shop.
No, because I think we were still kind of holding out that we were going to meet up with this person. So,
right.
We looked through their back bins. I don't think we had maybe we bought like a couple. I don't know. I don't remember. I don't think
I
we
didn't
did.
buy anything. No.
So anyway, so we finally what happened was we basically put this dude on pause, and we had a time to go meet the other guy with like the our contingency plan.
Yeah.
And he was like, yeah, I'll be here at this time.
And he gives us an address.
He gave us an address and he gave us a time. And so we're like, okay, well, let's just like go to this comic shop. We'll kill time there. And then we can go meet at the at this guy's house. So then we go, and then when we leave, I'm like piecing together the story. We stopped at a Whole Foods. I don't remember why. I think we were just like, I think he said he was running late or something.
So, remember he said he got a flat tire?
Yeah, well,
The story is so ridiculous.
Okay, so we left the comic shop, and I think what we said was, because we were on that guy's side of town.
Yeah.
So what we said was we're meeting somebody else at this time in this area. So if you want to meet us, you can meet us. It was just before we were going to meet the other guy at this parking lot. It was like a Whole Foods parking lot.
Yes.
So we went from him, we kind of stiff-armed him. We're like, we're going to the comic shop for right now. If you want to meet us here at this time. So we go to the comic shop, then we go to the Whole Foods.
Yeah.
We're in the Whole Foods and we're waiting. And they're like, hey, where are you? And he's like, dude, so much traffic. I'm like, I just came from the same side of town as you.
There's no traffic.
What do you mean? And then he's like,
oh, wait.
Yeah, my tire just popped. Okay.
We're trying to figure out what's his angle here exactly.
Exactly. So at this point, I'm pretty much like, I just don't want to see this person. Yeah. Like, this is sketchy at this point.
My theory was that he's going to wait long enough to the point where he knows banks will close so that you would have to have the cash in hand if you wanted when you met him with the books. That was my theory. Like, because at this point we're like, this is a scam. What's the angle that's making it a scam? Yeah. And that was the only thing I could make. Because like, if he wants to rip us off, why doesn't he just meet us and try to rip us off?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, no, I think you're probably right. Yeah, that makes sense. So he's like, yeah, my tire, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, forget it, man. Like,
we're out.
We're done. We're gonna check out this other guy, and then we're gonna leave. So then this is where the story gets. From this point on, the story gets crazy. Yeah. So, scheduled time to meet this other guy. We pull up to his house, and it's like immediately, you look at this house and you're like, this is the stuff of horror movies.
Yeah.
Because there's cameras, like full on security cameras, like what you see at like grocery stores and in the mall, like not just one, like around his house, just watching, windows barricaded. And
then you could see like through the blinds and one or two of the windows, things that didn't make sense, like something on the second floor that was like some kind of Christmas decoration that didn't make any sense because it would be on the first floor. I can't remember what it was, but it was just like it was leaning against the window because it moved the blinds out of the way just enough. But it looked like in this neighborhood, this house, you would have thought it was abandoned, though also at the same time because it was all unkempt, and I don't know if there was a lock on the door. There was a realtor's
huge lock.
You know, like when a house is not occupied and a realtor's put those things on it. That's what was on there. Like I think it was a padlock. It was a big padlock,
like a massive one. Yeah,
on the front door locked. But here's the creepy part: locked on the outside. It was hanging on the outside.
Yeah,
it wasn't a realtor one. It was. I'm mistaken. It was a padlock that to a chain that locked the house shut from the outside to lock people in.
Yeah. And the window was barricaded. Like the living room window was barricaded. So first glance, we're like,
what is going on?
Sketch. So I messaged the dude and I'm like, hey,
we're out here.
And we don't hear anything from him.
Yeah.
So we're just like, okay, like let's just go knock. Like maybe he's like pulling the boxes out. Doesn't have his phone on him. Yep. I don't know. Like, let me go knock on the door. So I go and I knock on the door.
I stayed in the car. I stayed in the truck so that there'd be separation, so that like we both wouldn't be in the same place at the same time in case something funky happened to you. I would be watching from the car, and because we were really like already kind of spooked anyway because of what had gone on with the other guy, but this house would have spooked anybody.
Yeah.
At all.
And I guess for more context, the neighborhood was really nice.
It was.
Like, so this house was like, it's sort of like a sore thumb. Like, because this, like, there was like a little lake back there. Like, it was a really nice, developed part of Vegas. Like, it doesn't, like, it didn't look like it should be in a desert.
Yeah.
city.
I remember when we were driving toward it, I'm like, oh, this is going to be great. Like,
yeah.
Oh, this is a, this is going to be legit.
It seemed like a rich part of Vegas.
Right.
Like north of the strip. So anyway, so I go in and knock on the door. Nothing. Kind of waiting. Knock again. Nothing. So I'm like, all right. Like, he's not here. Like, it's fine.
And you were doing content stuff, so you had the camera.
Yeah.
Around your...
Yeah. Oh no, I was holding a camera.
Okay, holding a camera.
Yeah, I was holding a camera. I didn't have my my POV Comic-Con one, and I was like, okay, nobody's here. So I turn around and walk away. And then a woman's voice. And she was knocking back from the inside of the house. And
on the inside of the locked door that was locked from the outside from the padlock.
Knocking from the inside of the house that was chained and locked and barricaded from the outside. She knocked back, and I think she said, "Who are you?" or something like that.
Yeah.
And it was so spooky.
It really was.
And I didn't respond immediately. I just like kind of sat there. And then she like did it again, and she was like, "What are you doing here?" or something like that. Yeah. And I was like, "Oh, I'm here to meet." I don't remember his name. Do I have the right address? Like I was like, at this point, it's like, I don't know. I might be at a murderer's house.
Yeah, exactly.
And so, she was like, "Why do you have a camera?" Like, didn't acknowledge anything that I had just said. So at this point, I literally thought that it was like someone's in trouble.
Yeah.
Or this is a recording. Like not like a just a voice recording that kind of triggers, but like a like a Ring camera almost, but like I don't know. It was weird. She didn't acknowledge anything I said. She just said, "Why do you have a camera?" And then I just said something essentially like, "Oh yeah, I was gonna come look at these comics, and I was just gonna like record the whole thing." And then at that point, she kind of like her tone changed, and she was like, "Okay, well, he's not here right now. He should be back soon." And I was just like, "Okay." And then I went back to the car, and I was like, "Do you want to do this? Like, should we go?"
Yeah.
Or like, do you want to stick it out?
We were communicating with our wives at this point because they were wanting to know like how it was going, and I don't remember. I'd have to go way back and look, but it was essentially like, well, okay, we're at the place, and I did not share all the details.
Yeah.
Though with Deb at the time because it was a little bit. I didn't want her to worry.
Yeah.
You know? But we were like, we were. I as I recall, our thought was, we were about to leave. Like we're like. Well, we weren't about to leave yet. We were just really debating it, and then you got contacted by the guy. Either the guy called you or he texted you.
Yeah, he texted me.
And what did he say?
Yeah, I think he said he was a couple minutes out, and I think that's when I looked at you, and I was like, "Okay, like, are we staying? Or are we going?" And I was pretty much down for either. I was just gonna like leave it to Bob to make like the final decision, and then you were just like, like, "Yeah, let's stay." And I was actually surprised that you said that. Like, I remember being like, all right. Like, I mean, that's fine. Like, I'm not against that. Like, I was just so shocked.
Yeah. You thought I would come up, I would give you a conservative response, perhaps. You thought I would give you a sensible response.
Yeah, I did.
But look, man, I'm a collector too. I'm like, if there's books to look at, I want to check them out. Yeah. You know, right now we're still on the outside. We're okay. I think, but this is creepy. But
it's incredibly creepy. And mind you, at this point, it's like it's dusk. Like, it's
like, the sun is going down.
The sun is going down. It's not fully nighttime yet, but it's eerie out because it's dusk. It's like right when the sun, you can't see the sun anymore, but it's still giving light, and it's like, it's the time where your mom's yelling at you because you're still outside and you shouldn't be.
A Las Vegas desert sunset. It's going to last a while, but it's like, and it's not dark yet. It's going to be light, but it's not sunny anymore. And our thought was, couple things. Let's see if he shows up. Let's see what we're looking at when he does show up. Let's stay in the car with the keys in the car if we just need to split, like race on out of here.
Yeah.
And there's no way we're going in that house. Like he's gonna have to bring the comic books out.
Yeah.
Was kind of what we concluded. And then we waited for a while, and finally we just thought he's not coming.
Yeah.
And we had decided, forget it, let's just go.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you actually turned the ignition on the truck or you were about to, but then he pulled up.
He pulled up like right as we were about to leave.
I mean, we had decided, okay, forget it, it's fine, whatever.
Because I think probably by that point it probably was like fully.
It was very close to sundown. Yeah. And he pulls up actually, first thing that was encouraging, as I recall, was a pretty nice truck. Like that was. And he gets out of the car, and he's probably in his 40s, maybe late 30s.
Older than that.
Yeah,
50s.
he was older, yeah. Yeah, how old do you think he was?
He was younger than you, but probably late 40s, early 50s.
Yeah, and in pretty good shape, too. And that was one thing that I noticed. I was like, well, he's too healthy looking to be a drug addict.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, that's where our minds were at this point.
Yeah.
He had all his teeth. His hair was, he looked... things were janky, things were scuffed, things were weird, but he didn't look like I thought we needed to be afraid. Like he didn't look like he's on parole. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like he just didn't look like a junkie.
Yeah. That's fair to say. And so I think I looked at you one more time. I think I remember looking at you, and I was just like, we're doing this, and you were like, yep. And I was like, all right. So we told him, we kind of were like, yeah, can you like bring the comics out here? And he was like, no. And it was like, okay. And at that point, that's when I was finally, just like in my own mind, I was like, we traveled here. We've had an annoying day. Like, let's just go in the house. Yeah. And basically,
it's probably a bad idea, but we did it anyway.
But what he had said was like, and this made sense when we got into the house. But what he had told us was like, I think he kind of knew that we were like skeptical.
Yes.
And like a little bit like had some fear. What he had said was something along the lines of like, when you see what's in here, it's more dangerous for me letting you inside the house.
Yeah. He's like, I'm the one taking the risk. I'm letting you in my house.
Yeah.
And that actually made sense.
Yeah.
Like, and all you're really going on is your gut at that point.
Yeah.
And I didn't get a sense that he was insincere about that. I was like, he's actually not wrong.
Yeah.
He's letting two grown men into his home.
Yeah.
That's locked from the outside.
And the windows are barricaded.
Yeah, and there's a woman inside, and like maybe they
screaming at us.
And I'm thinking maybe we should get inside, and maybe people need rescuing in there. Like this was wild.
Yeah, that was like the extreme thought was like, if it's locked from the outside, this woman with like a shaky voice is like yelling at us from the inside, like, do we need to like call the authorities?
Yeah,
to, like,
is she a prisoner?
Yeah,
it sure looks like she's a prisoner.
So then he goes, yeah, he says that like, yeah, it's more of a risk if I like me letting you guys in. So we're like, all right. So we go inside, open the door. I kid you not, this place, a collector's dream. Mm-hmm. I mean, anything that's every toy action figure that has hit the shelves in the last 50 years
was in there. You could barely walk.
Yeah, you couldn't walk side to side.
It was a hoarder's house, except that it wasn't dirty. It was definitely the hallway was narrowed down to single file because he had bureaus and display cabinets in the hallway because they were loaded with figurines and toys and who knows what. So, but it wasn't. It didn't smell bad. It wasn't nasty. It was just crowded full of collectible stuff.
It was clean. Like it was really clean.
Yeah.
It was just like when you go to antique shops, like when you walk down aisles, you can really only walk like in a single aisle because they have so many display cases. But like the floor is clean and like it's not sloppy. Like it's not presented messy. Like that's essentially what his house was.
Yeah.
And like when we got in there, I don't remember if it was his wife or his girlfriend. She was like incredibly hospitable. She was so kind.
I thought I think she asked if we want something to eat or something. Like you're gonna bring us cookies? I wouldn't have eaten the cookies. No. But the funny thing is, and so we went into a room, like you walk down the hall, like maybe 15 steps, and then you was a left turn into where he's like, yeah, come, here's where I've got this box of comics. And I stayed outside the room so that I could keep my eye on the door. I'm like, I'm not letting anybody get between me and the door.
Yeah.
While you go in there and check out the comics. So I had one eye on you and one eye on my back to make sure that we had an exit and a way out. And but I was also talking to the lady, and she was really, really nice.
Yeah,
like
she was incredibly kind.
Yeah, she was really kind. And I was right. They did have a Christmas tree like on the landing, or like on the second floor, like just leaning over. It wasn't decorated. It was just up there.
Yeah.
And was leaning against the window. So anyway, I'll let you keep telling the story.
Yeah. So he just brings me into, like, it was the dining room essentially.
Yeah.
And he's like, yeah, here's the box. And what he had for sale compared to how he listed it was a bit of a bait and switch. Because he had listed pictures of lots and lots of comics. But what I had before me was like a short box, like half full, 3/4 full.
Yeah.
Of
Marvel Premiere, some Whitman stuff, some Gold Key stuff.
Yeah.
Things that you were looking at me like, does this have any value? I'm like, no, I mean, it's not really. He had a few like semi-early Iron Man appearances, but not really that early Iron Man, I mean, Iron Fist, excuse me.
So it was just like, then I asked him like what I think I asked him like, you had a picture of like a lot, and you had a picture of some Hulk books, because I think the reason why we had chose that was he had shown like Hulk 175 through 179. And I was like, shoot, if he's got those, he might have 181. Honestly, he probably did.
Yeah, but I think he knew what he had. That's what we figured out pretty quickly. Like he was, there's a reason he showed Hulk 170 to 179.
I don't think he knew what he had. I think he half knew what he had.
Yeah, maybe half knew, which is what was so intriguing.
Which is why he's like, I think because what we ended up finding out later was he like inherited this stuff from his grandpa. So I think he did enough research to know what he had, but he didn't do like a full, complete, like book by book research of like everything. I think he was just like, maybe he did like a handful of books and saw that like a handful of the Bronze Age stuff that he had was valuable. So he was like, okay, if this stuff is valuable, then probably a lot of this stuff is. And so he essentially he said he had a lot in the basement, a lot of stuff in the basement.
Yeah, come into my basement,
Well, I wish he would have said that, but he wouldn't let us into his basement. No, he actually
wouldn't let us go in the basement.
But he said that he had a lot of like long boxes in his basement, and basically he was just like, the way that he was like condensing the collection was he was just putting some books in a short box and selling them for like,
he was asking a lot of money. Like I can't remember,
like 300.
Yeah, for the short box, and it was mostly just junk. Like there were no keys. There was nothing older than bronze. I'm trying to remember like what he had. Even like he had some. I don't remember anymore. But it was nothing that made you go, "Wow, you want that book," or it's in really good condition. It's nothing older than the 70s, and nothing key.
So then what I told him was, okay, I'm not really interested in this stuff. I said, you had some like Hulk books on the pictures. Like, do you have that? And he's like, well, that's in the basement. Like, I don't have like much, like, he's like, it's a lot to like go down there. Is pretty much what he was saying.
Yeah. He
like,
just wasn't feeling like he didn't want to show us what he had. He wanted to sell us what he was willing to sell us.
So then that's when I was like, how much do you want for everything? Like all of your comics, how much do you want for all of them? And then that's when it was like, that's when I realized he wasn't going to sell it. Like he actually didn't want to sell anything.
Yeah. Because
he was like, well, he's like, it's a lot. Like, he's like, and they were my grandpa's. And then once he said that, I was like, oh, okay.
He said he had a box of Wizard magazines. I remember him saying that.
Oh yeah. He was like, yeah, I can bring up a box of Wizard. And,
I'm like,
yeah. So I was just like, I mean, I think I told him how much for everything. He was hesitant, and then he was talking about his basement. He's got like all this stuff in the basement, and I was like, okay, can you bring up like a couple of the long boxes? He was like, well, it's a lot of work. And he's like, I really only want to bring it up if you're going to buy it.
That was weird.
And I was like, well, I'm not going to like commit to buying it. If
He
if I
wanted to
don't
guarantee
see
that
it.
we were going to buy it before he went and got it.
Yeah.
I was like, well, we don't even know what it is.
Yeah. So I was like, well, I'm not going to commit to buying it if I don't know what's in there. And he was like, yeah. He's like, well, they're just really heavy. And I was like, well, can I go down there with you? Like I don't mind going down there and looking at them with you. And he was like, well, he's like, it's a lot down there and I don't want to. And I was like, I think I pretty much was like, all right, well, thanks for your time, man. Like,
Yeah, that
like,
was it. It was over real
it.
fast.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, we were leaving.
Yeah. And I think he tried to like, well, what about these like books up here? Like he
no.
continued and it was like, no, we're good, man. Like
Yeah.
I probably would have like for the short box that he had, $100 might have been like a fair price because I mean some bronze stuff like
Yeah.
not bad, but yeah, that box probably wasn't worth more than 150, 175 bucks.
Like he had like some Twilight Zones and like weird like Gold Key stuff like that. A lot of Gold Key. I remember that.
Yeah. So, but the house was crazy, man. If they weren't kooks, it would have been cool to like
I know.
take some like honestly, I wish I could go into that house today knowing what I know now and how much I've learned about comics, about figurines, like cuz I'm a lot more knowledgeable now than I was then. And
yeah, we might have said, well, let's see what's up here that we can look at and might have found something cool.
Yeah. We did end up finding out that we actually came from the same city in Los Angeles. Like,
yeah. I was happy when you made some kind of a connection with him because you know, I was on edge, man. I mean, we both were on edge, but we got a lot more relaxed when we saw what was on the inside of the house and also when we met his girlfriend or wife or whatever and saw that he, you know, despite the weirdness of the home, he was pretty well put together. I think it's just he's a hoarder with a lot of valuable things, and he's, you know, obviously over the top on security. But one of the security measures was to put a padlock. But that means someone's inside. That's dangerous. Like she's locked inside.
Yeah, he's definitely a hoarder, and everything about the house made sense because he overvalued everything that he had. Like he for sure he's got valuable stuff in there. But the fact that he had like a handful of security cameras, that giant padlock on the front, and like the boarded windows, he clearly thinks that he's sitting on like millions and millions and millions of dollars worth of collectibles.
If he's sitting on millions and millions, sell some of it and go, you know, why wouldn't you sell some?
Which is why he's saying like, hey, for this half a box of random books that I threw in here for $300, and it's just like, nah, not worth it. So yeah, we ended up leaving, and so
meanwhile
yeah, so now the other story is catching back up. So now we left this and then we're like, okay, well, our contingency plan is done. It's nighttime, so I can't look up and message anybody else that's selling stuff. Like, and at this point, any fears that we had were gone.
We had stepped into the haunted mansion and survived. So we were brave, feeling pretty confident.
There was nothing that was gonna tear us down at this point. So it was like
it's a good thing we didn't go gambling. It would have been disastrous.
Well, that's my only regret of the night is that we didn't go gamble.
I hate gambling, but I would have watched you do it.
So I messaged the other guy from earlier with the Fantastic Four one and the AF-15, and I was like, okay, I'm wrapped up. I'll meet you in that Whole Foods parking lot. And so
nighttime by now.
Nighttime, yeah, like very much nighttime. So I tried to park next to a place with a lot of lighting and closer to the entrance of Whole Foods. And he pulled up in like just like kind of a beater car. And nice guy.
Yeah. Girlfriend is in the car waiting.
Yeah. I think he had still lied about all the stories he was telling us before.
He looked a little bit sketchier than the guy we had met before.
Yeah. Yeah, a little sketchier, but nice.
But nice guy, yeah.
Yeah. And so we had just like opened up the bed of the truck, and he had brought a few more things that
maybe had 20 books total. Maybe.
Yeah. So he laid them out, seeing the books, and as soon as I see the books in person, then I'm like, okay, these are probably repo covers. Well, I'll finish telling the story before I say this. So he lays everything out. He's got like some of the Marvel treasuries.
Yeah, he's got these. big treasury books.
The big treasury books, and then just some like not worth the paper it's printed on books from the 90s. Like,
yeah, that were just no.
And then he's got the 3 books. I feel like there's another one I'm missing, but so I don't even remember if they were in bags and boards or not. They probably were.
They were.
But I asked him if I could take them out, and he said, yeah. So I take it out and look, and as soon as I feel it, I looked at it, and I was like, that looks like repo. I'm not gonna lie, it was a pretty good repo.
Yeah.
Like,
but wow, if it was real, it was about as clean a copy as you're ever gonna see.
Yeah.
Oh
and
my
so
goodness.
I touch it, and as soon as I touched it, I was like, no, this is 100% fake.
They were too light.
Yeah.
They didn't have the weight.
But the interiors looked, I mean, honestly, it might have been worth just to get the no cover, take the covers off. I can't, because I can't remember too well of like what it was. But I think at that point, at least what was going through my mind was like, this is fake, so we need to get out of this situation quick.
Yeah, because you had, I don't know how many thousands of dollars you had in cash sitting in your glove box at the time of the truck, but that's where it was. And he knew that we had cash because, as we had said, the banks were closed, and there we are looking to make a cash deal in a parking lot.
Yeah,
in Las Vegas. Like, anybody in the right mind would have said, yeah, nah, not a good, after all the shenanigans that he had already pulled on us. But like you had said, we were kind of feeling it a little bit after like the adrenaline rush of the whole other thing. So yeah, now your mind is like, how do we extract ourselves from the situation without it being us accusing him of trying to rip us off? Because we're just trying to.
Yeah. So I feel like you applauded me for this after.
Yeah.
But I essentially have like learned this from like fake sneakers and like people who try to sell fake sneakers is you never tell them like, oh, these are fakes. Like you kind of are like, do you remember what I told the guy?
Yeah. You said they're restored.
Oh, right.
You said things look like they've been restored, and I don't buy restored books.
Yeah,
that's
right.
what you said it was.
Yeah.
I'm like, when you said that, I was just like, this guy's a genius. That's such a smart way to do it, because now you're saying I don't want the books because they're not what I thought they would be, but you're not forcing him. You're not calling him a thief.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. So with like sneakers, there's like videos on like TikTok and YouTube of like, a lot of sneaker shops will just like record them selling or buying shoes from people, and whenever they encounter fakes, they'll never tell the person that it's a fake. Sometimes they will, but for the most part, I say like 90% of the time, they're not going to be like, oh, this is a fake shoe, I'm not buying this. They'll look at the shoe and they'll like write in a subtitle like, at this point I realize like this is a fake shoe, and they're looking at it and they're like, yeah man, this is a crazy shoe. And like, honestly, like for a shoe like this, I need a buyer lined up and I just don't have anybody that's interested. Or they'll say like, this is a really hard shoe for us to sell, so I don't think we can take this into our inventory right now. So they say things like that. So I remember in that moment, I was just like, okay, I need to like run through like the Rolodex in my mind and figure out like how can I attribute that but to comics?
Yeah, that was smart.
And then I was like, oh, I can just say
that was so
restored.
great.
And he was not offended at all. He was like, oh, okay, no worries. And then you also tampered the situation by you ended up buying one of the Fantastic Four Treasury.
Two of the Treasury books. And he had some reprints, so I bought like the Marvel Masterworks, but they were actually the nicest books he had. They were wow, the first versions of the reprints of like AF-15 and X-Men 1, not the Golden Record reprints, but the
it was the Masterworks.
Yeah, I think it's Marvel. Yeah, the Masterworks,
just not the hardcover ones. Yeah, when they printed them on each single issue.
And I bought that plus one or two of the Treasuries. And I gave him $20 for like 4 of them, but I should have just bought all the treasuries because I left behind the most valuable treasuries. I didn't. They were the treasury editions of the first Spider-Man treasury editions, which actually have value. But as you guys know, I'm not really into Spider-Man, so I didn't buy those. I bought the Fantastic Four ones, which are fine. I'm glad I got them, but I should have bought the other ones. But when I got back and looked up, like those reprints are like $50 and $60 each. You know? And you didn't get anything.
No.
And of course, by then the comic shop's closed, so we can't get anything. So it was a catastrophe, but at the same time, it wasn't.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, I mean, it was. I wouldn't go back and do that day any different. Well, the only thing different I would do is gamble. I would go play blackjack at the end of the day.
You deserve.
I would go spend and just
to win
because at that point I was just like, I want to spend money.
Yeah, I know.
I brought money here to spend to buy something and I didn't. So let me go sit at a blackjack table at the Park MGM. Get some free drinks.
So instead we went to McDonald's and we ate like kings,
No, In-N-Out. We went to In-N-Out.
In-N-Out. Yeah, that's right.
But yeah, I wouldn't go back and realistically change anything.
No, I think we played.
I wish I could go back to even to that second guy. I would love to take a look at those reprints. Like
I think he knew. I know he knew they weren't real.
Yeah.
But had we said to him, kind of what you said, same thing that you said, I don't really collect restored books, but, I came all this way, none of it's a lie. I just, want to go home empty handed, for all of it, $50 for all of it,
Oh, I don't even think I've mentioned this part when we've told the story to our wives, when we told the story at Christmas to your parents. I just remember this. When we first got there, this was the first red flag. When we first pulled up and when we opened the bed of the truck, he said, "Oh, I'll take $1,000 off just for the hassle of today." He said that off the bat.
Oh, that's right.
And it was like, oh, okay. You don't just take $1,000 off for hassle.
No.
Like
you
take like, $100 off, my bad, bro. Like
yeah.
I made you run around town.
He was hoping to get 10K.
Yeah, because he wanted 10K. So he was like, yeah. So that was the first red flag. It was like, oh, these are fake.
So remembering that, I don't think there would have been a scenario where we could have said $100. I think that just would have been all but accusing him of theft if we had offered that. Yeah. I think that we couldn't have done any. The only thing I would have done differently would have been I would have bought all the treasury books. I would have included I would have said I'll give you $20 for all for these big books and these reprints, and we left his reproductions of AF-15, FF1, and FF48 with him.
Yeah.
But it would have been cool to have those books too because they were really nice looking reproductions.
I think that's actually so. I think what led me into saying I don't buy restored was I asked him where he got them from, and he said I got them in a storage unit. And that's when I was like, oh, you know what? Like, these are restored.
Yeah.
And I don't really buy restored books. And then he was nice about it. He was like, oh, okay. Yeah. I'm like, no worries. Because at that point, he's probably, realistically, as long as you're not, like, verbally accusing somebody, it's all kind of like, who knows? But I think what he's kind of seeing at that point from his perspective is he's not falling for my scam. So right. I'm trying to get out of here as quickly as he is.
And the other possibility is that he honestly doesn't know whether they're real or not real. And if we try for $100 to lift those books out of his hands, he might think we're trying to rip him off.
Yeah.
And we clearly aren't, but you don't want to put yourself in that position.
Yeah.
So it was,
he might have got them from like he might have not been lying about that. It's hard to tell, like with kind of just the whole context of the situation and how he kind of like dragged us along. So, it's hard to trust his word at any point. But he very well might have got those in a storage unit. And those probably could have been like the comic with the repo cover. And like, because the other books were legit. The reprints were legit. The treasuries were legit.
It could have been, but they were so light. They were so light.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I don't know. That's possible too. In which case we really blew it because coverless FF1 is still pretty sweet.
Yeah, no kidding.
But that was an adventure for sure.
Yeah.
And we had fun. It was a long day, but it wasn't a bad day. I mean, it was definitely not. It was not an uninteresting day.
Yeah.
Let's put it that way.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I wouldn't go back and change anything.
Oh, no.
I would love to go back today with the knowledge that I have. I would totally go back and relive the second half of that day with the knowledge that I have now.
You could probably contact that guy, but I bet he's still got the same books in his basement.
He probably does.
We could probably go back and relive that day.
Maybe I'll see if he's still in my Facebook Messenger.
Stay tuned for the sequel. We're gonna go back there.
Oh, that would be crazy. Yeah,
Well, this time though, we'll have a much better plan. We'll bring our wives, and we'll plan a whole weekend to be out there, and this will just be part of the excursion. So the whole experience won't rise or fall on whether or not it works there.
Derek can't stand Vegas, so I'll just bring one of my boys.
All right. Then.
Way.
Well, if you're not bringing your wife, I'm not bringing mine. Sorry, Deb.
Oh man. So yeah, that's definitely our craziest.
Yeah.
Like kind of story. So
that's part of the fun of collecting, though. Your passion for finding for the hunt can lead to some very interesting positions that you find yourselves in, and for good or bad.
Yeah, and I mean, from that point on, that's probably like what really catapulted our relationship.
Totally,
because we were collecting together at the time. We did go to LA Comic-Con. We were like in the beginning rumblings of like collecting.
Yeah.
But then just sharing that story.
That sealed it.
Yeah.
Plus, we had a lot of fun. The drive there and back was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
You know, playing good music, getting to know each other more, connecting and bonding on and things beyond like, well, you're married to my daughter, and well, you're my father-in-law. But those things actually weren't part of it at all. It was just you, me, with this shared love for the hunt and the hobby, and here we are.
Oh my gosh, I just remembered. This is totally not planned. That same, so that was in, oh no, I'm trying to remember the dates here. That while we were driving up to Vegas, that is when I found out the grade for this book at the McDonald's. Do you remember that?
I do remember that. Oh my gosh.
I totally forgot about that.
The full circle nature of this podcast is crazy.
Wow.
So that's right, because I remember you were stoked about it because it was like some good news from the day, because it was kind of discouraging, right? The whole day.
Well, we were still
it was on the beginning of the day, because McDonald's was on the way of the day. That's right.
I wasn't sure what this was going to come back because I didn't press it, because I got this signed to LA Comic-Con and then I just dropped it off at CBCS.
Oh my gosh.
And it was...
That's right, because McDonald's was the first stop, the way there. That's right.
And this might have been the first book I ever got graded.
That's wild.
I totally did not plan that.
Maybe subconscious, somewhere in your brain. Did you? I mean, I don't know. We didn't really know for sure what we were going to tell this story, did we? Like,
well, we did before the CGC thing.
Yes,
before we saw.
That's right. And the CGC thing sidetracked us, but that's so crazy.
Yeah. Wow.
And then you had. This is another. We won't tell the story because it's too long. But then you had. There was its own drama and you getting the truck back too, right? Like it was, you had to wait the next day or something.
Oh no, I had to go up that same night.
Oh, that's right. You dropped me off,
and I had to drive about 30 minutes past where we live.
Yeah,
to drop this car off.
We were so tired. You have to understand. We drove all the way to Vegas.
I had a full day,
and then drove all the way back, a round trip, nonstop, and then you dropped me off, and then had another hour to hour and a half of driving to do. So that, in case you're wondering, like we were like, now, given the nature of our relationship now, I would have just gone with you. I'm like, dude, no, I'm not. Don't take me home. Like, let's just go. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, yeah. But in that, it's interesting to think that way. Like, there's no way I would have let you done that without me looking at it now. Be like, no, I gotta finish it off. Like, we're not done. You know?
It was probably just so late. I was probably just like, dude, just go.
Yeah.
Like I'm just gonna.
Well, I was still father-in-law, and you were taking care of me.
I
get the old guy home and get him in bed.
I probably was just like, if I drop him off now, then I can just like zoom to my buddy's house, swap the cars, and then go straight home after that.
Dude, yeah, I remember you did say that. Like, you just like, because I'm sure I resisted somewhat, but you were like, nah, man, let me just drop you off and I'll get this over with.
And then I left all the money.
That's what it was.
In his truck.
That's what it was.
And he was leaving early the next morning to take it, because he coaches soccer. So he was going to take... He had to like take the kids like way past LA. So I was like, okay, bro. And this is like a church friend, okay? So I was like, hey, I know I borrowed your truck to go to Vegas. I left $8,000 in the glove department.
The glove
but
box.
I want you to know that it's not gambling money. But if you could swing by,
It's not drug money. It's not gambling money.
but if you could swing by on your way to your soccer game, that would be great. And he was like, "I got you, bro. No worries."
Dude, that was the hiccup that I was forgetting. Man, that's how tired we were. I mean,
Yeah.
it's nobody leaves $8,000 in the glove box
No.
under normal circumstances.
Can you imagine if that was like a rental car? Oh my gosh.
It'd be over with. You wouldn't see that money again.
No chance.
I've left things in rental cars. I don't remember what they were anymore, but I never got
They
them
don't
back.
care.
No, they're gone. It's gone. It's like that's part of the perk if you work at a rental car company. I think you're probably take dibs on searching the car to see what freebie you get.
Yeah, seriously.
So yeah,
Oh man.
good stuff, dude. That was fun.
Yeah.
I mean, it's more fun in retrospect than it was at the time, but it was an adventure for sure.
I want to see if I can because if I can look up when CBCS like emailed me.
Yeah.
Yeah. 12/19 2022.
Yeah, that's
December
it.
19th.
Oh
So
gosh.
yeah, that's why when he gave us the story about the kids, it was like, your kid's not in school right now. School's out.
Yeah, school's out. And we looked it up. We were
Yeah.
the whole thing was so sus. Yeah, no.
But anyways, thanks so much for watching.
Yeah.
Congrats on this. This is 2 hours and 45 minutes.
Oh my, yeah. So first, thank you for watching and congratulations that you made it to the end.
Yeah, seriously. Holy cow, this is a long episode. So, and this is one that they get for free too. So they're getting like a whole nother hour of extra content, which we don't. The extended episodes are normally like 30 minutes
I know.
extra.
Hopefully, people don't look at this just sight unseen and go, "I'm not giving them 2 hours and 45 minutes," and then don't watch it at all. You never know.
Yeah.
But good stuff, man.
Yeah, we appreciate you guys watching.
Yeah.
If you do like this extended content, then for $3 a month, you can get 4 extended episodes about every Monday. So
Yeah.
4 extended episodes. So just don't get coffee one time. Help support us a little bit, and you
Yeah.
get some more content out of us.
Right on.
Otherwise, we love making the free content
Yeah,
for you
either
guys.
way. It's cool.
So hope that you guys are enjoying that. San Diego Comic-Con vlog is out. Go watch that, comment on it, like it, share it with a friend, all that good stuff.
Speaking of the serendipity of the
Oh, yeah.
we had In and Out that night.
In and Out, Colorado. That's not the same one, but
No, it's not. No, we didn't go that far.
yeah.
Yeah, thanks for watching.
You guys enjoy the rest of your time whenever you're watching this. Goodbye.
See you later.